Well, well, well. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Daily Cooking Show. I hope you're all having a beautiful Sunday. If you're currently watching this live, it is Sunday, May 26th, I think, something like that, and currently 5 p.m. EDT. Hello to all of my lovely sous chefs. Welcome on in. Hello to Tuna Chefs. Hello to School of Rock and Roll. Hello to Jack. Hello to Kaze. Hello to Trash Can Cat Mom. Hello to Shy Chica as well. Hello. It's lovely to see all of my regulars in chat. It's good to see all of you today. So everybody, as always, if you'd ever like to know what we're making, you can always type in ! menu. But let's do a little walkthrough of what we're making and why we're making it. Today, I'm going to be doing a dish that I've had only a few times in the past that I wanted to try my hand at making, called tabbouleh. Tabbouleh is this Middle Eastern parsley salad. It is first and foremost an herb salad. It uses a bunch of parsley, uses a bunch of mint. Sometimes it also uses something called bulgur wheat. It has some tomato in it. It has some onion, as well as a couple of seasonings. The reason why I'm making a tabbouleh today, well, first of all, I have a bunch of fresh herbs that I wanted to get rid of. And this is a really, really nice way to do so. I feel like oftentimes in Western cooking, in European cooking, also thank you, School of Rock and Roll, we use herbs in a very, in a very, very like subtle way. It's oftentimes only used as a garnish, oftentimes steeped into something, and it's like used to finish something. The beauty of this tabbouleh is that it's a very nice way to use up a bunch of parsley, because it is at the end of the day a parsley salad. It's an herb salad, and it's a nice way to use up a bunch of it, which is what I have in my fridge. And so that's what I wanted to try today. I wanted to see how it would turn out in a home setting, and so we'll just have to see how that goes. So everybody, let's walk through some of my ingredients for the tabbouleh, and then alongside it we'll also be doing another red lentil soup, kind of inspired by my Turkish red lentil soup that I did some time ago, except we'll be also doing it with some beef today. So everybody, let's walk through some of my components for today. So I have here a couple of ooh, that is a hair on the potato. I have here, guys, a couple of lovely tomatoes. Two of the tomatoes are going to be used for the tabbouleh, and then one of the tomatoes is going to go for the red lentil soup. I have a carrot, which will be used for the soup. I also had this leftover serrano chili, which I was thinking, also, Gigi, watch it. Also, welcome on in. It's lovely to have you. I do not need a step stool to reach the top shelf. I have this chili here, and I'm considering either putting into the tabbouleh or to put into the red lentil soup. I still haven't actually come to a conclusion about it, but I have it, and so we're just going to use it even if it's not a particularly traditional accompaniment. Okay? I have one potato here, one little tiny potato, and this is something I picked up from doing the Turkish red lentil soup. The potato really holds it together. It makes it really, really beautiful, really, really smooth and creamy. It really blends it all together. I have some onion here. One of these onions will be for the tabbouleh, and then one of them will also go into the soup. I have a lemon also for both the soup and the tabbouleh, as well as some garlic, my friends. I'm going to go ahead and set that down. And then I also have here just one beef shank. We're going to make a really, really quick beef stock out of this. We're going to stew it, we're going to pressure cook it, and then we're going to make the red lentil soup out of all of this lovely beef stock that we'll create. And this is not going to be a super meat-forward dish. I'm only using this one chunk of meat. We're going to shred it up after it cooks. And then we'll just mix it in through the soup and everything, okay? So guys, one beautiful beef shank. What else do we have available to us? Let's talk about the start of the show today, my friends, which is a big heaping pile of parsley. And that's also going to mean that we have a lot of parsley to stem. It's going to be a process. It's going to take up some time, but that's okay. Guys, I have a bunch of fresh parsley here, and this was the inspiration behind doing the tabbouleh, because I wanted to use it up before it ends up going bad. I also have a bunch of mint, and truth be told, guys, I don't actually cook with mint all that often. This is a really nice way of using up a bunch of nice, beautiful fresh mint. I also have some cilantro behind me, because why not? Let's add it in, even if it's not traditional. So guys, lovely, fresh, aromatic mint. And if we have some time, I think it would be nice for us to make like a refreshing mint tea, which is also a nice way of using up a bunch of mint. So guys, that should be the rough ingredients that we have today. We also have a couple of seasonings and spices. And last but not least, for the tabbouleh, I have something called bulgur wheat. I believe this is semi-cooked, cracked wheat. And all that we're going to do, we're going to pour over some water on it, and it's going to reconstitute it. And it's just going to provide a very nice starchy component inside of the salad today. So that is all of the different things that we have today, as well as some red lentils. We have a beef shank. We're going to make a red lentil soup today. We're going to make some tabbouleh. We have a lot of work to do. Is everybody ready? I would love to hear a nice resounding yes, chef, from everybody watching. Please and thank you as I take a little sip of water. And I do mean everybody. If it's your first time chatting, if you're just lurking, this is the time to say yes, chef, as well. Okay. Also, guys, let's do some housekeeping before we begin. Really quickly, if you haven't already done so, check out my Patreon. My goal is to be able to do this full time one day. Exclamation mark Patreon, or just scroll down and go into the About section. Also, follow the backup channel if you haven't already done so. I believe this Friday stream, or I'll privately announce it somewhere, we will be moving over to the other channel for reasons that I'll specify at a later date. So everybody, please, please, please go ahead and follow the backup channel. So the first thing that we're going to need to do for today, guys, is we have to get that beef stock ready. We're gonna sear the beef shank, we're gonna put it in the pressure cooker with a couple of aromatics, a couple of vegetable scraps, and just get it done. So let's go ahead and begin. And so everybody, I already have, this is the pot that the lentil soup is going to be taking place in. We're going to be first searing the beef. We sear the beef to build up a little bit of extra meaty taste. It's to just get a little bit more oomph out of it. We could theoretically just make a stock out of the beef shank by not searing it, but we'll just get a slightly weaker beef stock. I find that beef stocks really do benefit from giving the bones, giving your beef stock components a really, really good sear. So everybody, I have a nice big old stainless steel pot. We're going to go ahead and put it onto a nice medium-low heat, because a nice medium-low heat is going to slowly and evenly heat it up. If we do a high heat, we'll have a bunch of hot spots and cool spots. And inside of here, my friends, we're going to need a bunch of olive oil, because remember, you can't really have Middle Eastern cooking without plenty of olive oil. So plenty of olive oil going to be going into the pot just to help start off the beef shank. The beef shank is also going to release plenty of its own fat. And in that fat later on for today, this is where we will be sauteing all of our vegetables. So olive oil inside of the pot. And as always, if anybody has any questions about this dish or about something else, I'd be happy to answer, because my goal is to teach you all how to cook at home. It's called Bulgur in Arabic. That's right. I bought this from my local Turkish supermarket, and that's how it was also sold as. So let's go ahead, let's tie up my hair, and then let's begin with some of the prep and why we're doing the things that we do today. So I'm going to be making my stock today and the shredded beef out of this lovely beef shank. The beef shank itself, it has a lot of connective tissue. It also has this lovely big chunk of bone marrow running through it, and then we have some meat. So every single part of this is going to find its way into the dish. As we sear the beef shank, it's going to release some of its fat that will cook the vegetables in. As we make the beef stock itself, that stock is going to be what the lentils cooking later on, and then we're going to take all this meat, shred it up, and just mix it into the soup at the end. So we're really getting the most out of a beef shank. A beef shank, oh, I did not mean to touch that with my naked hands. Now I have to probably wash them. But again, a beef shank, really good for this. You could use any collection of beef bones, beef scraps, beef chuck, honestly, anything that you would like. But for me, this is the ideal cut to be able to get still something reminiscent of a broth out of it. So I'm gonna have to go ahead and wash my hands really quickly. Okay? And in the meantime, while the pan is heating up, and while we're actually searing our beef for today, we're going to go ahead and get a couple of aromatics ready, a couple of vegetable scraps ready to be able to make into a lovely stock, my friends. And that's what's a really nice thing about making your own homemade stocks. It's a very nice way of using up some existing vegetable scraps that you have. We're cooking with onions today, we're cooking with carrot today, we're cooking with parsley, and we'll be able to use all of the scraps of those ingredients for the greater good instead of just throwing them away. So it becomes very resourceful. So guys, I have a couple of onions right here, and we slice the head off the top of the onion. We slice it off, and then instead of throwing it out, we'll just be using it towards the stock today. So let's go ahead and get that prepped. Let's get that ready to go. We're not going to be chopping our onion quite yet. That doesn't have to happen for a while. But all I'm going to do, guys, is take these scraps, take these lovely little onion heads, and we're just going to take off that topmost layer of the skin, because that top layer of the skin tends to be a little bit dirty. I don't wash my onions. Too much effort, too much time. So let's just go ahead and pluck them off instead. Clean them up a little bit, okay, and pop out that onion top. There you go, something like that, lovely. So guys, these two little onion scraps, that's going to go directly into, I have a little pressure cooker pot all ready to go. So let's go ahead and get that out, and let's get that dumped into the pot, my friends. So all of that just goes in, and then we have to think about some of the other aromatics that we want. Because of the fact that we're cooking with parsley, let's go ahead and get all of our parsley stems inside of it as well, my friends. But at the moment, again, my olive oil slowly but surely heating up, nice medium-low heat. Side question, when I cut onions, the smell always sticks to my fingers and I can't get the smell off for days, no matter how many times I wash my hands. Well, my one piece of advice though, Dangerous Mouse, is just to use some nitrile gloves. This is what I use in the kitchen, black nitrile gloves just because they look cool. But if you're really concerned about the smell that's left on your fingers, that's the best way to go about it. Now, another thing that you can do is you can do a little bit of research as to the polarity of what even causes the onion smell to stay stuck on your fingers. You have to figure out, is it fat soluble? Is it alcohol soluble? Is it water soluble? So that's not something that I would be able to tell you off the top of my head. Also, Christian Primus, thank you so much for the 500 bits. Thank you, thank you. But I would do some, I would just try to figure out like what it's actually soluble in. For example, if something is only water soluble, washing it with fat isn't gonna do much. If something is only fat soluble, washing it with water isn't gonna do anything. Chef, how important is powder-free nitrile gloves? I don't really know what the designation powder-free typically means, but I guess you've just already answered the question for me if it's acrid tasting, right? So actually, everybody, the only thing that we do need to presently do to this beef, also Dangerous Mouse, thank you so much for the 5 gifted subs. That's so sweet of you. Thank you, thank you. Guys, all that we need to do, and we have a hype train already, wow. All that we're going to do is we're just going to really quickly pat this beef dry. Because if it's wet, 2 things are going to happen. One thing that's going to happen is it's going to splash as the water comes into contact with the oil. The second thing that's going to happen is we're not going to get the beautiful deep brown crust that we are looking for. So I'm going to go ahead and take it and pat it dry really quickly. And you should do this with any meat that you're cooking always, guys. You never need it to be wet unless, I don't know, you're poaching it, but even then you can still like pat it dry and it's fine. So general rule of thumb, guys, anytime you're cooking with meat, we always pat it dry. So let's go ahead and lay it into my lovely little pot. Okay, and everybody, once again, nice medium low heat, because if we have too high of a heat, let me explain to you what's going to happen. How many times, everybody, how many times have you tried to sear a big piece of beef and it buckles? It buckles immediately, it sort of cups up like this, and it doesn't get any crust on it whatsoever. How many times has that happened to you? Can I please get a me, chef? Like when recipes say, oh, we need to go ahead and brown this beef. We need to go ahead and brown these short ribs, especially with something like a beef shank, guys. By cooking it too quickly and overcooking the outside too fast, what's going to end up happening is the meat buckles, it's going to cup up. Okay, and then it's going to be very, very difficult to even develop that crust. For something as thick as a beef shank, the key to developing a good crust, my friends, is just going to be a little bit of time. A little bit of time, a little bit of patience, give it a couple of rotations, and I promise you, it's all going to end up working out. A little bit of time with something like this is going to be your best friend. We want to go ahead and get it nice and dark brown and beautiful and golden, okay? Okay. So a lot of people said no to that. That's okay. That's fine. I'm only a little upset about it. Let's go ahead and start stemming all of our parsley for today. Because again, the goal of this, my friends, the goal of today was to use up this massive bundle of parsley that I had in my fridge. This was a really, really lovely dish to be able to do so. Okay, we're going to be putting it back into this container though. As always, everybody, we always keep my fresh herbs in a container with some paper towel. That way they just stay fresh for super long. You can keep it in your fridge for up to a week or so. This entire idea of taking herbs and sticking them in a jar with some water, I don't actually think it works that well. I don't think it's particularly efficient in terms of how much space it takes up. And I've had every single herb that I've ever worked with actually wilt that way as well. So just rotating it again, just to make sure it's building up a nice even crust. And if the meat feels like it's sticking, let it go. Let it go, come back to it in a little bit of time. The meat will naturally unstick itself. Okay? So now everybody, we have the pleasure, we have the fun task of picking all of my parsley stems. And I do mean all of it, especially for something like a salad, guys. I don't love the texture of parsley stems. I find them to be a little bit too woody, okay? Although a lot of people traditionally would include it, again, it is completely my preference texture-wise, and I'm still gonna be using all of these parsley stems inside of my final beef stock. So guys, we got a lot of plucking to do, and this would be a very nice time if you had any sort of questions or comments, okay? And it's okay to make those kinds of mistakes, by the way, at the end of the day, right? Mistakes exist so that you can learn from them. Dangerous Mouse, thank you for stopping by. Thank you for the gifted subs. Came in, asked a couple of questions, helped out the chat. You are the best. Hope you have a lovely rest of your day today. Okay, so Everybody, we're just going through all of this. We're just stemming up all of my parsley, and I do have a plethora of parsley to stem. And it's okay if we get some of the thin stems, right? That's like totally fine. I'm just really looking to get rid of any of the super, super big ones, okay? And you guys can hear that beef is slowly but surely frying on up. I'm actually curious if this would be a better shot for us. It's kind of blocking the beef. I don't know. Guys, would you prefer to just see the beef cook and sear on the pan? Okay? Give it a little bit of a rotation once again, and then we'll go ahead and properly flip it over. It's almost frying now, everybody. It's frying in all that lovely beef fat. It's frying inside of all that lovely olive oil. Also, Tarina, it's lovely to have you, as always, whether or not you're lurking or active. And it's okay, guys. We can have a nice, cozy stream today. We can have it be nice and chill. So all I'm doing is I'm just going through all of my parsley. Once again, not really looking for that woody texture. And you can put in as much or as little effort into this as you need to. A lot of people, they like to keep the herb stems, and of course, it's a little bit less wasteful to do so. Yeah. So just going through it all, making it happen. And then we'll also save some to garnish the final lentil soup with as well. Okay. Got a lot of parsley though. Do you guys see how big this bundle is? This is going to be a chore. This is going to take a while today. Hence another reason why people don't typically like to pluck the leaves off of herbs. It's incredibly time consuming. So I never really worked in a restaurant, but I did apprentice in one for a little bit. And one of the jobs that they had me doing was taking some time off of the stem for prep. And I don't know if you guys know how annoying it is to take time off the stems. Rosemary, easy. Oregano, I can do that too. Thyme, because of how small thyme is, to get it completely off of the stem was one of the most annoying tasks I've ever done in any kitchen setting ever in my life. I do not cook with thyme because purely of how lazy I am. And then because I never really have a use for a lot of thyme, but I would love to be able to get a little bit more adept in it. So guys, we're already building a really, really nice crust. I want you to take a look. Despite the fact that we're not on a high heat, despite the fact that we're not destroying this thing with a lot of temperature all at once, we're still able to slowly but surely develop a beautiful crust. Everybody remember, cooking, and in general, we're talking about the Maillard reaction here. It is a relationship between heat and time. In fact, having too high of a heat could be counterintuitive. You could cook the meat too quickly before your crust develops evenly, and as a result, the meat is going to start pushing out water and make it even more difficult to get a crust, guys. In order to get a good crust, I'm going to say it again and again and again. It is a relationship between both heat and time. If you feel like your crust is not coming out, slightly lower the heat and just let it go, my friends. Let it go and let it do its thing, okay? And every so often, we're going to be rotating it once it unsticks itself again. We're getting all of that delicious beef fat out. That's what we're going to be cooking all of my vegetables in. It'll be delicious, okay? So plucking up all my leaves, plucking my leaves, making it happen. Guys, would you rather see the beef cook and not be plucking the parsley stems? Or would you like to just see everything all at once? What would be your preference? Or actually, alternatively, aha, how's that sound? Now, because this is such a repetitive task, right? I feel like this is going to be the best camera angle because I'm the star. I'm the star of my own show today. Okay? So we keep on plucking. Also, Tarina, I feel like you're not lurking, right? You're still typing up in chat. You lied to us. You deceived us. That's okay. Yeah, this is the one. This is the optimal shot. All right? Guys, we're keeping it nice and chill. We're keeping it cozy. There's really nothing exciting to be happening at the moment. All that we're doing, we're just getting all of my parsley stems nice and plucked. We're getting a really nice crust on the beef. And again, ultimately, it is not completely necessary for you to even sear your beef in the beginning. But ultimately, guys, a really, really good rule of thumb in cooking is that color equals flavor. You know, the Maillard reaction specifically, right? In the process of browning the beef itself, it tends to be a little bit sweeter. That's how you get some of those deep roasted flavors instead of just a boiled one. And it's just going to add another layer of complexity. Now, that doesn't make it necessarily better or worse per se, but it's just a completely stylistic choice. I wanted to have that super, super deep, meaty flavor. I wanted to have like those roasted flavors inside of my soup today, and so I'm searing the beef. But let's say you want to get something a little bit more subtle. You can omit the beef altogether. You can keep it completely vegan as a soup. Or alternatively, you know, you could just just gently simmer the beef instead to make the stock, right? Nothing in cooking, very few things in cooking, very few things in a specific dish are this has to happen. This is only the right way to do it. Cooking is completely relative to your intentions, okay? So the beef, it's still slightly stuck to the pan, meaning that we want to go ahead and give it a little bit more time because, again, if it's sticking to the pan, it will naturally unstick itself. Do not force it off. The same applies for fish. The same applies for chicken. If you're cooking a piece of meat and it is sticking, I promise you, just give it a little bit of time. The meat naturally sticks at first, and then it will naturally release itself as well. Okay, you don't have to turn up the heat. It's not that you don't have enough fat. I promise you guys, meat wants to stick. Proteins want to stick. And once they cook enough, they will naturally unstick themselves. Okay? So, we're keeping it going. We're keeping it cooking. Considering to pluck all of my lovely parsley stems. A bit of a process, I know, but still got to get it done. And I don't think I'm going to do the cilantro today, purely because I think also having to pluck the cilantro stems will make me kind of go insane. Okay? That will make me lose my mind. I only have so much patience for plucking herbs. Again, that trauma from plucking thyme when I was apprenticing at a kitchen for a little bit. Ugh. You said that a few streams ago, and I did it while cooking, and it worked. Are you talking School of Rock? Are you talking specifically about just letting the meat naturally unstick itself? If so, then yeah, this is a very, very common sentiment. A lot of people, especially when they put like a piece of fish down, or when they're making an egg on something like a carbon steel pan, they put it on and they immediately started agitating it. They immediately started pushing it and poking it around. Guys, it is going to stick at first contact. You just have to be a little bit patient. And now, we gave it a little bit of time. What do you think? If we move this around, is this going to unstick itself? And the answer is almost there. Almost there. This one edge right here is still not totally done yet. So again, we're not forcing the issue. We're just letting it happen slowly. Okay, so continuing to do the job. But yeah, especially with fish, I see people put it on, it immediately sticks, and then people think that, oh, they have to use non-stick cookware, that they can't use stainless steel cookware. People are so used to meat not sticking on a non-stick pan that they think that's how it always goes. And the answer is, that's just not true at all. But nobody has been actually properly taught, I feel like, on how to use a stainless steel pan. The reason why non-stick cookware is so popular is because all of these big brands have sold people this idea of, oh, this is convenient, oh, this is easy, you don't even have to think about it at all, because all of these people were never taught how to properly use stainless steel and copper and cast iron and carbon steel. There's a learning curve. They're not challenging, but it's a skill that you need to learn. Okay, so a lot of the reason why non-stick is so popular is because people were never actually initially taught this, and then they're getting taken advantage by brands. Okay, and then all of this non-stick cookware, super cheap, super thin aluminum, super uneven heat distribution on it, and it's just not what you want at all. So guys, take a look. We're not stressing over this beef. Hey, the beef, is it stuck now? Not at all. It has completely unstuck itself, and now we're able to rotate it, and we are slowly but surely developing that beautiful crust, my friends. We're getting that fond as well developed on the bottom of the pan. Okay, and all that fond is going to go back into the lentil soup today. It's going to make it nice, and it's going to make it meaty, and it's going to make it delicious. Okay, so a few more little bits of parsley to go, everybody. Are you all still watching? I want to hear a nice yes, chef, please, and thank you. Just going through the last of it. Little bit left, and I do mean very, very little of it left. Incredibly tedious task, but it needed to happen either way. Okay, and there you go. A couple more leaves. And then we'll be putting it into the fridge just to go ahead and keep it fresh. Especially if we leave it out at room temperature, what's going to happen with the parsley is, it's just going to get like super, super like flaccid, right? It's going to get like really, really soft. It's not going to be what you want, okay? Also, Cyber Goth Foods, welcome on in. It is lovely to have you. Hello, hello, hello. Okay, so I accidentally put some of my leaves in with my pile of stems. That's okay. I'm going to go ahead and get my leaves back into the fridge just to chill out until we actually need it today. And then all of these parsley stems, my friends, all of it is just going to go directly into the beef stock that we are making. So I'm going to go ahead and take a second to just put that away, just to go ahead and take care of that. Awesome. Okay, and now let's go ahead and check on our beef. Everybody, what do you think? Is the beef going to be ready? Do we have the crust? Do we have the fond developed that we wanted? Well, let's go ahead and inspect it and take a look. That other side, my friends, that is a nice, beautiful brown. I don't want to go too much further, and I'm going to explain to you why. I'm not going to brown this beef more because if we do so, we'll risk burning our fond. The fond is all of the little dissolved proteins that come out of the beef that are then stuck to the bottom of the pan. I want all of that fond to go into my soup, but I don't want to squelch the fond. So instead, I'm just taking my beef shank out and I'm going to put it directly into my pressure cooker pot, even though we could have gone for a much deeper crust, even though we could have theoretically caramelized it even more, my friends. I think that that is going to be plenty, and now we have all of that beautiful beef fat. Chef, is it too extra to toast spices that are destined for the stock? It really depends. I think it might get lost. It depends on the spices. Some people toast them before the stock, some people don't. It depends on the spice itself. It might get lost depending on how thoroughly you actually toasted your spices. Okay, so that's that. Really, really nice, really, really easy. All that I'm going to do now, guys, we're going to go ahead and set this off. We're going to set it off the heat, but we're going to keep that pan. We want to keep all of that olive oil and want to keep all of that delicious beef fat, okay? Because that olive oil and that beef fat, it's going to become the basis. It's going to become the basis for my lentil soup. Okay, your oil that you use, the fat that you use is as much of an ingredient as everything else is. We're not using canola oil, we're not using vegetable oil, we're not using any of these neutral cooking oils simply because they do not taste good. So guys, all of my vegetable scraps, my parsley stems, my onion scraps go in as well. I could also throw in a couple of more things. So let's just go ahead and do that now. I need to slice off this dried off end of my carrot, because it's not going to go into the soup. So let's just go ahead and throw that into my pot anyways, because we're already at it. Let's just go an extra step. And then, because of the fact that I will be cooking with these tomatoes today, I'm also thinking of just throwing my tomato quarters inside. I don't think they'll contribute that much, but even if they do a little bit, it's still somehow marginally less wasteful than us just throwing it away instead. So guys, 3 beautiful vine tomatoes. Once again, 2 of them for the tabbouleh. 1 of them is gonna be used for the lentil soup today. I'm slicing them in half, and I'm taking out the core of each of my tomatoes. Now, the tomato flavor that they'll actually give us, guys, I don't even think it's going to be anything. But you know what? It makes us feel better about ourselves at the end of the day. It makes us feel better that we're not wasting anything. So why not go ahead and do it? So each of my lovely vine tomatoes, guys, I'm taking them and I'm making a couple of incisions either way, taking out those cores. And once again, instead of throwing it out, I'm just going to go ahead and throw that into my pressure cooker pot. All of it goes inside, okay? And now everybody, last but not least, we have to top it off with some water. I'm not going to want a crazy amount of liquid inside of this pot because I don't want a broth that's too diluted. I don't want it to be too bland, right? So let's just go ahead and get that all inside. I want this to be a nice, concentrated, delicious, beefy stock that we are then gonna cook our lentils in. The only thing that we have to keep in mind though, is we just wanna make sure that our beef is just about covered. We don't need it covered with an inch of water or so. We just need it to be covered enough, my friends. So, what's inside of the pot and why are we doing this? We're making the beef stock that's gonna be all used towards the lentils. I seared up a beautiful beef shank. We added in the onion scraps, the parsley scraps, as well as some tomato and carrot scraps. And now guys, I wanna get this beef fall apart tender. I want it to become so tender that it easily shreds up into little fine shreds. So I'm thinking we're gonna pressure cook this on high for about 50 minutes or so. Okay, normally I say something like 40 minutes, but 40 minutes, it leads to it to be a little too toothsome for me. I want it to be completely and totally falling apart. 50 minutes at high pressure, everybody. Setting it on now, making it happen. Okay, and that's just going. Right? And the reason why we're using a pressure cooker today, as always, is just because of the fact that it makes it a lot faster, right? Because of the fact that the water is able to get up past its regular boiling point, we're able to cook it so much quicker. So we're able to do it in 50 minutes instead of 2 hours. Chef, one quick thing about pressure cookers. What do you have in mind, Serena? Also, Trash Can Cat Mom, you're making barbecue gochujang pulled pork in your Dutch oven. It's almost ready. Oh, I can't wait to see it. I'm sure you're going to post a picture of it in the Discord. Also, guys, if you haven't joined the Discord, !Discord, we have a lovely community. Please go ahead and join. Okay, so we're making the beef stock today for the lentil soup. We're just keeping it really chill today. We don't have anything really crazy active that we need to be doing at the moment. We can go ahead and begin some of my salad prep. The biggest thing that does need to get done in advance though is going to be cooking the bulgur wheat. The bulgur wheat, we need to boil some water and then we have to pour over that water because it's going to take about an hour for it to properly soak through. It depends on the coarseness of your bulgur wheat. So let's talk about this as an ingredient really quickly. Okay, this is an ingredient I'm actually really not used to using at all. In fact, I would love to figure out what are some other things I can do with bulgur wheat other than necessarily just using it in a tabbouleh. So, bulgur wheat. We're just going to get these really nice little starchy bites inside of our salad, and we're not going to need a whole lot today. We're going to pour over some boiling water on it, about half a cup's worth or so, and just let it really properly soak in. Okay, depending on the coarseness of your bulgur wheat, it might take more or less time. So really fine bulgur wheat, you could just soak it in some cold water and it will be perfectly hydrated. With this kind of bulgur wheat, it's a little bit on the coarser side, and so we have to get boiling hot water to be able to soak it through. We've got a sweet potato, black bean, onion, fiddlehead salad for the side. How did you get fiddleheads? Oh man, I've never cooked with fiddleheads. I've seen them before, and I know with like fiddleheads, you have to like get like the poison out of them, right? Because they're normally poisonous when they're raw. Something like that. Also, Jack, that's very sweet of you. Thank you. I feel like there's been several back-to-back chill streams. That's right, Chai Chica. And again, today we're not going too far out of my wheelhouse, right? We're making a salad, we're making a soup. Just the bulgur wheat part is actually a little bit new for me. Also, what apparently is new for me is untying this bag. I can't seem to do it very well. Okay, lovely. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna go take a kettle and I'm gonna fill it with some water, and we're going to go ahead and get that boiling. And once that's boiling, I'll be pouring it over all of my lovely bulgur wheat, and we will just simply let that soak on through. Okay, so just getting some water into a kettle. Gonna go ahead and heat that up. And again, I'm basing, anytime I do a recipe for the first time, anytime I do a dish for the first time, I typically base it off of something that Serious Eats has done before. So the method that I'm using for today comes from the Serious Eats Tabbouleh. And so all I'm gonna be doing, guys, about a quarter cup or so of bulgur wheat to half a cup of some boiling water. Okay, actually half a cup of water. I don't think that's right. I could probably reference that and Google that. But a quarter cup of bulgur wheat. Also VCC TV and Two Dads Kissing. Welcome on in. It is lovely to have the both of you. Okay, so let's go ahead and get, oh my gosh, we have another Vosh raid. Oh wow. Hello everybody. Welcome on in. It's lovely to have you guys. We're doing some really basic, really delicious Middle Eastern food today. So guys, we're making a tabbouleh. I have some bulgur wheat here, okay? And all that we're going to do with the bulgur wheat is we're just going to go ahead and soak it in some nice boiling water. Again, if you have, traditionally, the bulgur wheat that would be used in a tabbouleh would be a fine bulgur wheat, if at all. A tabbouleh, at the end of the day, it's a Middle Eastern parsley salad. It is a parsley salad. A lot of tabboulehs that you see have way too much bulgur wheat. It has way too much, and it becomes the main component. The main component of your tabbouleh is always going to be the parsley. It's always going to be the fresh herbs. Above all else, my friends, it is a fresh herb salad. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this. And I got to figure out how much water I'm going to need. I'm really careful about the water that I am adding to this, because if we have too much water, the bulgur is going to absorb too much and it's going to become a little bit mushy. And that's not what we're looking for. We're looking for it to really hold its shape. We're looking for it to really stay intact, okay? Okay, lovely. So yeah, it does seem like we're only going to need half a cup of water for this amount of bulgur wheat. Also, Blunder Puffin, welcome on in. It's lovely to have you. Everybody that is just now joining us from the raid, everybody that's already here, I want to hear your nice resounding gas chef. Welcome to the best cooking show on Twitch. If anybody has any cooking questions, as always, please feel free to ask me. The reason why we're making a tabbouleh today is because of the fact that I have a bunch of fresh herbs in my fridge to get rid of. A really often thing that happens with home cooks, when you buy parsley for one recipe, for one dish, you're left with all of these fresh herbs that you don't know what to do with. And so we'll talk a little bit about how to use it and how to keep it fresh. And so people just get into this cycle. They buy herbs, it goes bad, they throw it away. They buy parsley, it goes bad, they throw it away. It does not need to be that way, my friends. It doesn't have to be that way. It can be different. So, quarter cup of bulgur wheat to half a cup of boiling water or so. Let's go ahead and get that inside and let's get that soaking. And occasionally we're just going to stir it to make sure that the wheat is not sticking to itself. Okay, so let me talk to you all about how I keep my herbs fresh, and a very big thing that people say about herbs that I don't actually believe. Everybody, the way that I keep my fresh herbs fresh in my fridge for over a week sometimes, is through the magic and through the power of using a paper towel and a Tupperware. I wash it, put it in a salad spinner to dry it off, and it needs to be really, really dry, and I put it in, and the paper towel is there. This method is so good. I hate the method where people say, oh, you're going to take some fresh herbs and you're going to put it in a jar of water like you would with a pot of flowers. I think that method, truthfully, is complete nonsense. I have had herbs wilt on me over and over again. Guys, when you buy herbs from the store, soak it in water to get rid of the sand, spin it nice and dry, okay, or with some towels or something, put it in a container with paper towels. The paper towels are a natural humidity regulator, because if your environment is too wet, they're going to turn brown and really, really limp. If your environment is too dry, they're going to turn yellow and really limp. In order to keep your herbs nice and fresh and vibrant for over a week, my friends, I'm telling you, paper towel, herbs inside, layer it in, and then just cover it up. Also, thank you so much for the $20 donation, Giselle. Thank you, thank you. I just saved you spinach. Well, I'm happy to do so. This method, guys, I keep my herbs fresh for so long, and that way I'm able to use it throughout the week. So many people, they get into the cycle of wasting herbs over and over again. And it does not need to be that way, guys. Bros, it gets better. It gets better. It does not need to be that way. I promise you. Okay, so what is the next thing that we actually have to do for the tabbouleh today? Well, we need to go ahead and chop up the tomatoes. Chopping up the tomatoes needs to happen in advance because the goal is to get all of the excess water pulled out of the tomatoes. So normally, if we were just to add the tomatoes as is to a salad, they're very, very nice, fresh, and when eaten immediately. However, as that salad sits, okay, I asked creators if this was gender affirmation for anyone as a joke. You have all of our support. Oh, that's pretty good. Also, welcome on in, God Klingon. Okay, guys, tomatoes are incredibly wet. If you serve it immediately, it's delicious. But the beauty of a chopped salad to me is that you can take it and you can put it in your fridge and you can keep it inside of your fridge. Okay? And if you have tomatoes in there, what's going to end up happening is all of those tomatoes, they're going to slowly release liquid. As it gets older, it releases liquid as the salt pulls it out. So instead, it is so imperative, everybody, that we give the tomatoes a bit of a pre-seasoning with the salt, and then we take all that salt out afterwards. It is absolutely essential for any chopped salad, for any salad that you want to keep in the fridge. That is the kind of a salad that I want to be eating at home. My goal is to not serve a salad with a presentation life that only lasts about 30 seconds, okay? Because what's the point of that? That's not home cooking. That's how you impress somebody, my friends. If it's somebody like, oh, I don't know, like a little caprese salad and you're serving it for a party, go ahead and be my guest. But we're cooking at home. And if we cook at home, chopped salads that are fridge stable is imperative. And so, that was my big long-winded rant to say, pre-season the tomatoes with salt, pull out the excess water, and then we'll drain off all of that excess water, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead and get that ready for us now. I'm just stirring up my bulgur wheat just to make sure that it's soaking nice and evenly and nothing is sticking. And I'll go ahead and get all of my lovely little tomatoes onto the cutting board. Does anybody have any questions for me in the meantime? And again, we're only using 2 of these tomatoes for the salad today. The rest of it is going to go directly into the soup. Okay, normally I would like char it and blend it. We're not gonna put in that much effort into it today. So let's just go ahead and get it all finely diced. As always, everybody, if you have eczema, a kitchen can be a bit of a nightmare. With the amount of wet things, with the amount of acidic things inside of a kitchen, it can be really, really difficult. It can be very abrasive on your hands. And so, especially when I'm cutting something like tomatoes, because of how acidic they are, I always, always, always glove on up. Right? Anybody with eczema, anybody with sensitive skin, super, super important. Okay, so guys, here's all that we're going to do. We're going to come back to the tomatoes, and for the soup itself, I don't actually really care how I cut it, because it's all just gonna get blended down. This is the soup cut, right? Just cut it into slices, and then just chunk it up. Again, it's all gonna get blended down. It doesn't matter. The only thing is I'm just being gentle so it doesn't release all of its water onto the cutting board, because I want the tomato liquid, in this case, for the soup. And again, I'm completely carelessly cutting this tomato right now, my friends. I do not care about the size of these chunks. I really don't care. It's all gonna get blended down. The tomato isn't even really gonna saute or anything. Okay, so just size it up, chunk it down, just something that can go ahead and fit into the pot. That sound, by the way, we do also simultaneously have my pressure cooker going, and inside of my pressure cooker is my beef shank. I'm making a lovely beef stock for I'm making a really, really lovely beef stock for the lentil soup today. Have I retired from commentating games, or is this a thing that you want to get into? Really good question. Also, hi, and Hugo, you are not interrupting at all, okay? I implore anybody to ask me any questions. It doesn't even just have to be about food. Okay, so my answer for you is this. Smash at the moment isn't particularly feasible, and I'm not gonna lie, I've fallen out of love with the game and the current meta of things. I'm not particularly interested with watching Game & Watch, and I'm not particularly interested with watching Sonic. Okay, I do still actively commentate Brawlhalla though, and so if you join my Discord, !Discord, highly and Hero, you will get all of the updates for whenever I'm on. Roughly, there's an event every so often, and I am going to be casting it, right? So I recommend that you join my Discord or just follow me on Twitter, right? And then you'll be able to keep up with all that. But it is my full intention to stay commentating, okay? So, Jack, you also asked me how I feel about Guga Foods. It's slop content at the end of the day. Look, I watch Guga Foods sometimes to feel something. But at the end of the day, it's just something that's produced. It is something that's produced, it's something that's pushed out, something that's manufactured. I think his videos are really funny to me conceptually. That's just like, it's a little sad, but it's how he makes a living. It's a little soulless, but it's how he makes a living. Okay, everybody, now this is the part where we need to lock in. I know I'm talking like a Zoomer at the moment, but it's time to lock in, everybody. I said that because Tazuraki in chat hates it when I say lock in. Okay, so we need to beautifully dice these tomatoes. I am talking about a fine dice because this is going to be a tabbouleh. This is a very, very finely chopped salad. I'm not talking about medium chunks. I am a Zoomer. Count JP, watch it, buddy. I don't want medium chunks. I don't want large chunks. I don't want small chunks. I want fine chunks. The way that you get fine chunks of tomato, first of all, go slowly. Everybody, there's so many videos out there online of all of these chefs going through something with high speed. It is the same rule with music. Tempo is built over time. You cannot replicate the speed at which a prep cook who has been doing this for so many different years chops something. Adjust your expectations. Okay? Also, Shachika, thank you. That's very sweet of you. Adjust your expectations right now. You don't want to do brrr all the way through. And also, guys, I'm going to let you in on a little secret. I'm going to let you in on something. Those prep cooks that go through something really fast, their technique kind of sucks. They're not slicing, they're chopping, and they get a bunch of uneven pieces. It's not all that impressive. I can cut an onion that way too. Eyes closed, all the way through like that. I can do that as well, right? It's inconsistent. It's not very good. Guys, I want this to be a beautiful chopped salad. So I'm saying this again and again and again. You need a sharp knife, especially with tomatoes. Tomatoes are soft and tomatoes are squishy. If your knife is dull, you're going to end up crushing the tomatoes instead of getting really, really beautiful fine chunks. If you don't have a sharp knife, go get a professionally sharpened, go buy a pull-through knife sharpener. I don't care. Figure it out somehow. Okay, having a sharp knife, there is almost never a case in a kitchen where you need a dull knife except when you're cutting through bone, in which case you would use an intentionally dull cleaver with a lot of force to be able to get through it. Okay, you don't want a super sharp knife because it chips too easily. When you're cutting soft, delicate foods, it is imperative that you have a sharp knife. Can I please get a yes, chef, from everybody watching? So, everybody, I need a beautiful, fine dice. Okay, and it's all going to start with first, whoa, hello, why am I struggling to get through the tomato skin? I just had this knife sharpened recently. What's happening? Okay, so we're going to go through, and we're going to go in, and I'm applying a lot more force than I'm actually comfortable with. I had these knives really recently sharpened. Okay, it seems like the base of it, the hilt. I wonder if my plastic knife case is dulling my knife. Oh no. Because I have like these knife protectors. I actually think because of how hard this plastic is, it's actively dulling the knife. Also, that has to do with like the softness of your cutting board as well. And also the softer your tomato is, the more difficult it's also going to be. So yeah, I struggled to get through that last slice. That was not the beautiful slice that I talked about before. But now, I seem to be getting through it more or less okay. More or less. Those woke more or lesses. Sorry. I just had to. Was that Jordan Peterson that said woke more or less? That was him, right? So guys, as thinly as you can. I know I talked about having a nice sharp knife. My knife, I think, will do okay. And really, really important, guys, we don't chop it, we slice it. We use the full length of the knife. We go all the way through. We go really, really nice and thin, okay? And nice, lovely, fine, thin slices of tomato, guys. And then we'll take it and chop it up into little cubes. Up yours, woke moralists. I think about, we'll see who cancels who. I think about that quote all the time. It is maybe one of the funniest things anybody has ever said. Okay? It is so good. Okay, guys, and now that we have this lovely little stack of sliced tomatoes, all that we really need to go ahead and do here. Also, Highly and Hugo, thank you. That's very sweet of you. Oh, yeah. Combo Breaker is this weekend. Oh, I really want to go to a Combo Breaker one year. You know what? Even if I don't get hired for it, I think I'm going to try to go as a spectator next year, okay? Yeah. So, guys, fine dice. In fact, I could have probably first cut this into, like, batons before I cut it like this. But I'm talking, like, really small, beautiful pieces, my friends, okay? I want this to be a beautiful, little, dainty, delicate salad. I don't want big pieces of tomato. I want it to all just be really nice, really delicate. And yeah, I think I'm just going to go ahead and take it, slice it through once this way, and then I'll be able to do this. Okay, yeah, so you know what? Let's just go ahead, go through all of this, my friends. Slice it, all the way through. Nice and proper. Get it all done. Okay, and now, my friends, we are slowly assembling my pile of tomatoes that will be used for the salad. And you can already see through the process of cutting it, guys, you can see how wet these tomatoes are. Chat, do we want a soggy, wet salad? No, we want it to be nice and we want it to be a little bit moist, but we don't want our salad to be sopping wet. We don't want to take a forkful of it and it just leaches out all of that liquid. And so, by chopping it really finely and then going in with a bunch of salt, my friends, we're going to end up with really beautiful tomatoes that aren't sopping wet and are also evenly seasoned up, okay? So let's just go through all of that. Awesome. I'm gonna have a little tomato snack. Is blanching the tomatoes to remove the skin too much work? John, I'm gonna be honest with you, I've never really understood the purpose of blanching tomato skin, because I've just found the texture and the taste of it to just always be nice. You can blanch the tomato skins if you would like to, but I've never, I've never had a bad impression of tomato skin unless it was cooked. And when it's cooked, it stays kind of papery, right? That's the only time I would blanch it, if I wanted to have like chunks of tomato in something that was cooked. Otherwise, I never blanch my tomato skins. I never take the seeds out, right? I never do any of it. I just consider it to be wasteful of both time and energy, okay? So little thin slices, my friends, all the way through, okay? And we are slowly but surely assembling this excellent little pile of processed tomatoes, okay? And so we just got to keep it going. Got to keep it going, got to keep it happening, and then we'll soak it in with some salt. Okay, so as always, guys, I'm going to just go ahead and slice this in half. Also, Evergly, welcome on in. It's lovely to have you. Slice it in half just like this, and then little dice, my friends. I do wish my knife was sharper. I do actually think those plastic knife cases, I think my plastic knife cases are damaging my knives here, which, and by damaging, I do just mean purely dulling them, which is always fixable in the kitchen. But considering when I got this sharpened, it really shouldn't be this dull at this stage. So I guess I'm just like a little bit annoyed about it. So guys, I apologize for being a bit of a hypocrite when I was like, oh, you need a super sharp knife, and mine isn't actually all that at the moment. So I apologize. My fault, y'all. Okay? But going through it, getting all my tomatoes done, being nice and patient. It's okay. Well, I'm gonna fix it. I'm gonna work on it, guys. I'm gonna be better because I don't want to be this way, right? Self-improvement is really important, all right? So let's take it and continue just to process it, guys. Nice gentle slices all the way through. A few more little tomato pieces. And in fact, I'm looking at this amount of tomato that I have here. I kind of want to set some more aside for the soup. I think I might have too much tomato for my tabbouleh. Because again, a tabbouleh, at the end of the day, it is purely a parsley salad. The star of the show isn't the tomato. The star of the show is going to be my parsley, okay? And so, I'll go ahead and take some of this and just put it back in with the rest of my soup ingredients, and it'll be perfect. Okay, so all my tomatoes just about done. Does anybody have any questions for me in the meantime? All right, all of that nice and processed. I'm going to go ahead and just take this bowl back, and we'll just grab a nice big scoop of these tomatoes and set them aside for my lentil soup today. And then the rest of it will be used for the tabbouleh. What kind of dishes do I ever cook or prepare? So as is fire, I only teach home cooking. Dishes that I consider accessible in a home environment, something that is either easily reheatable, something that is easily transformable, okay? So what'd you say? Do I ever make tabbouleh with quinoa? So Jay Webster, I'm going to tell you something right now. This is my first time actually making tabbouleh. I love tabbouleh. I've eaten it only a few times before. But the reason why I'm making this dish today is because of the excess of parsley that I had sitting in my fridge. So do I ever make tabbouleh with quinoa? I'm sure that would be delicious, right? I'm sure that would be lovely. I've just never made it before, right? So we'll see how it even goes with the bulgur wheat that is currently soaking. Okay, everybody, I'm going to go ahead and just take a nice big bowl. Okay, and now this is the part of the dish that I would consider to be, I'm using my wrong hand for this. This is the part that I consider the most essential and the step that you absolutely, under no circumstances, are allowed to skip. And that is going to be the salting step. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and just quickly wipe off my cutting board because this thing is super wet and we still need this to cut up a couple of vegetables later on. Okay, so I'm going to, ooh, did I just run out of paper towel? Please tell me I put my paper towels down here. Yes, okay, good. I have my backup paper towels already all ready to go. My one thing that I will say I am incredibly wasteful about, I don't think anybody burns through paper towels nearly as much as I do in a kitchen. So I'm moving in July. What I would love, guys, the system that I have envisioned is I want like a 3-hamper system of all, like a bunch of different like kitchen towels, right? Where it's like, you know, semi-clean, clean, and like a dirty system. And I would love to have that in my kitchen so that I wouldn't just have to keep wasting paper towels all the time. I don't currently have that established here. It's gonna be like a whole laundry thing as well. So that's why I haven't done it already. But I'm really excited to make that system for myself at home. And then guys, one day, maybe I'll stop using paper towels altogether. And that's not a metal cutting board. No. You don't want a metal cutting board because it'll damage your knives. Okay, so guys, here's all of my tomatoes that are gonna be for the salad. This is the step that I will say again and again is the most essential. We salt the tomatoes, and we salt it with what looks like too much salt because we don't want my tabbouleh to come out soggy. I don't want it to be dripping wet. I want it to be properly saturated with water. Okay, but I never want it to be dripping wet. Tomatoes have so much water inside of it, okay, that otherwise, you know, it'll just make your salad soggy. The goal is to have a chopped salad with some longevity in the fridge, okay, meaning I want it to stay in the fridge, I want it to be nice and fresh, I don't want it to be completely immersed in water. So, guys, we salted it, we mixed it up with the salt, and you can already see how wet it is. You can already see it. Okay, Internet Shaquille raves about having a cloth towel system all the time. I'll talk to him and see what he does, but I want to have like a hamper system right on like a wall where it's like we just take that towel, we use it, and when it's done, it goes into the other one, and then every week or so, or maybe every few days, we would just wash them all at once. Because guys, having a big stack of kitchen towels is incredibly useful, and I want to be better. Okay, I'm trying to teach you guys how to cook at home. My home cooking routine and my home cooking ecosystem, I haven't fully built up either. What I keep in my pantry, what I keep in my fridge, how I've organized certain things. I want to really take some of that, figure it out for myself, and then maybe share some of my teachings as well. So I'm really excited to see how my routine improves with a little bit of time. Okay. So everybody, we got some more vegetable prep to do. These are going to be the tomatoes for the lentil soup. This is going to be my potato for the lentil soup. This is going to be some onion for both the lentil soup and the salad. And then we also have some carrot for the soup. So let's go ahead and get a couple of things prepped, chopped, peeled, ready to go. I also have this one leftover chili, which I just thought, let's throw it into the soup. Why not? We have nothing that we're losing by doing so, right? It's just going to add in a little bit of spice, even if it's not traditional in this kind of a dish. Okay, wonderful. And then we also have some garlic, which we'll be adding in a little bit later. Okay, so let's go ahead and just simply peel up the carrot. Let's get all of that dried, yucky carrot peel off of it, my friends. Just go through it. And again, I could have theoretically saved this for like a vegetable stock, but like, you know, not yet. I want to have like a freezer system as well, like a freezer drawer where I put all my veggie scraps and whatnot. Is it true that casseroles are always boiling and bland for people that can't cook? So I'm going to tell you this right now. I don't actually entirely understand the function of a casserole, and I don't actually really like baking things. And I'm going to explain to you why. Casseroles, they're kind of all just like combined, and they're easy to do, but they don't like... it just like bakes and it cooks together, but nothing is like really crusting, nothing is like really turning brown. I also didn't grow up in the Midwest, right? Like I grew up in a Russian immigrant family. I never had a casserole before. Maybe once I had like, I think like a green bean casserole. I'm not gonna lie, I'm not entirely sure still like what it is, other than you put a bunch of things in a tray and bake it, right? It just never made sense to me because it feels like all of those individual components, they need some amount of love, they need some sautéing, some processing. It's the equivalent of just steaming everything all together. Chef Watch is in your eyes a kitchen crime. You can't forgive that some chefs do besides chopping herbs. Are you asking me what is a kitchen crime that I can't forgive? But yeah, so I never really grew up eating casseroles, right? Like I you know, like growing up, like people would say that they had it for dinner, and when I was a kid, I was like, I have no idea what that is. Like at all, right? So guys, we're just going through a carrot. Again, this is all going to get blended up, so your cuts do not have to be perfect at all. But the reason why I'm still cutting my carrot into such thin pieces is because I want it to cook in time. Carrot especially, it does take a considerable amount of time to actually get cooked compared to other vegetables. So we cut it up into thin planks. And now guys, completely reckless abandon, I am chopping it up. Is lasagna just an Italian casserole? Is anything baked just a casserole? Right? I think the word casserole is kind of meaningless. I have no idea where it comes from. I don't know the etymology. I don't know the history of the casserole. Right? I don't know any of that stuff. So guys, this was just an old leftover carrot that I had. Right? And all I'm doing it again, just chopping it up. Just chopping it up. Guys, again, this entire soup is going to get all blended up, but the reason we still want small chunks, and we still want to be actually cutting and processing it, is still because we will be, of course, sautéing all of this. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and just take all of this carrot, guys. If you don't have a bench scraper, this is your sign to go invest in one. Bench scrapers are incredible to have. Okay. Right, just so you're able to quickly scoop everything off of your cutting board, nice and easy. One of these onions is going to go towards the lentil soup today. One of them is going to go towards the salad. Maybe just like half of the onion for the salad. I don't want it to be too aggressively oniony, per se. Okay, so all of that carrot is ready. Guys, let's go ahead and do a similar thing with my onion. Okay, I'm just gonna go ahead and get rid of some of those really, really long roots that are hanging off of it. Okay, and let's go ahead, everybody. So we've cut the head off. The head is being used for the stock at the moment. I'm going to take this onion and we're just going to slice it in half through the root, because the root of the onion keeps it intact. As you can see, all of the layers of the onion, they feed back in here, and that's how you stop it from falling apart when you cut it. Chef, do you cool your onion to help with the tears? Chopin Chris, again, the only thing that you can do to stop with the tears that you get from chopping onions is by having a sharp knife. The more that you crush the onion, right, with a dull surface, with something like a food processor, right, with something like a cheese grater, or the dull knives that all of you guys have, and even me at the moment, the more you're going to cry. Ultimately, cooling it and running it under cold water, those are all Band-Aid fixes. Okay, those are all ultimately Band-Aid fixes to the real problem, which is the fact that you have a dull knife. Okay, nice sharp knife. I promise you, you will not cry chopping your onion. In fact, if you're chopping the onion and you're crying, that's just a good indication it's time to go ahead and get that thing sharpened. Okay, so again, everybody, I don't really care about the way that I'm cutting up this onion for today, right? I'm still going to be pursuing a small to medium dice so that it cooks through in time so that it gets nice and soft, right? So we just made a bunch of parallel incisions. We fanned out the onion, and now everybody, again, normally I'm a lot more careful with my onion cuts, but for this specific dish today, you really do not benefit from having perfect cuts. It's all going to get blended. It's all going to become a part of the soup. It's a vegetable soup, my friends. It's a lentil soup. Okay? So all of that nicely processed. Once again, guys, whenever your cutting board gets crowded, don't keep trying to cut things on it. Just scoop it off. put it onto the plate, make your surface comfortable, okay? With a crowded surface, you're just going to get overwhelmed. You're going to start accidentally chopping things too much as you go back over them. I don't have a massive butcher block. I have this tiny cutting blade, and so it is imperative, everybody, that we just scoop stuff off of it often. Scoop stuff off of it often. Ooh, I like the alliteration of that. Off of it often. That sounded fun to say. Okay, again, guys, once again, just slicing through, and as you can see, no tears, no crying whatsoever, because of the fact that my knives are nice and sharp, okay? Go through it all, perfect, perfect, all the way, awesome. And now let's just go ahead and get all of this onto my plate. All of it on there, excellent. Okay, so guys, these are going to be the base vegetables for my soup today. And then I'll also be chopping up a serrano because I have it. Again, I'm modeling this after a Turkish lentil soup that I really, really loved making. It's not super traditional to have a green serrano chili, right? It comes from Mexico. In this, but again, that's why we cook at home, guys. The most authentic thing that you can do at home is to use up your existing leftovers before even pursuing some idea of authenticity. Use the things that you have available to you first and foremost. Okay, instead of going out and buying everything to make it an exact fit. That's what it means to properly cook at home. So I'm going to go ahead and similarly just handle this serrano. I'm going to cut the head off of it. I don't want too much spice because we'll also be adding in some Turkish red pepper flakes. So I'm going to cut it in half. I'm actually going to put some gloves on. Chef, is it normal to name your kitchen tools? Jack, do what you want. Right? We're talking about, like, I don't think I've ever answer the question of if it's normal to do something, right? Because I just don't think it's a very useful discussion to have. As long as you're doing something that doesn't hurt others and that it's fun or something, then go ahead and do it, right? But I don't really like answering any questions about is it normal to do this thing, right? That concept is not a way that you should think, unless you wanted me to tell you, Jack. Maybe you were asking me to tell you how quirky you are, right, for doing that. So my answer for you is just do what you want, right? Do what you want, and nobody's judging you for this one. Okay, so I'm going through my serrano, guys. I'm taking out the pith, and the reason why I am using my gloves here is because otherwise all of those seeds are going to get under my fingernail. All of that capsaicin, and you know what that means, guys? When I later touch my eyeball, because I'm always touching my eyes, it's just gonna sting and be incredibly unpleasant, right? So we're getting all of those seeds out, and guys, same exact idea with my lovely little serrano. Okay, is it normal to cook a nice meal for you and your friends? No, Count JP, that makes you a monster. How could you? Okay, going through it and just chunking it up, guys. Chunking it up, processing it, because again, the way that we cut most things doesn't matter if it gets blended. There is going to be an exception though, and the exception in this case is garlic, because the finer that you chop it when it's raw, the more pungent it becomes. So that's the only one that we're intentionally really, really paying attention to how we cut it. Is everybody still watching? I want to hear a nice yes, chef, please and thank you. So my serranos, I'm going to set them aside. Okay, put them onto my plate. What else do we need to do? Well, we got to go ahead and peel up this potato, chop the potato, and we got to keep it in a little bit of cold water. The reason why we have to keep the potato in cold water is because otherwise it oxidizes. I'm not keeping the potato skin today because my goal is to blend the potato. So guys, this is actually a really lovely piece of advice that I have for all of you. And I did not realize how powerful this potato is. Okay? I need everybody to listen to this one. So when I made this Turkish red lentil soup for the first time, this is a red lentil soup that I grew up eating. Okay, I grew up eating it. I live in a very Turkish area. I love Turkish food to death. Okay, it was a thing that whenever I'd go out for Turkish food, I would eat it. Okay, I always wondered how it had that good of a texture, how it had that good of a viscosity. In the past, and again, I don't have that much experience when it actually comes to cooking with lentils. Right, so I'm actually really, really new to cooking with lentils, and it's part of what I'm doing today. I want to get more comfortable with it, right? In the past, right, when I used to make lentil soups, oftentimes what would happen is all of the lentils, they would settle at the bottom, and then the liquid would rise to the top, and it would almost split. How many of you guys have had that experience with lentils in the past? I'm curious. I'm just curious if anybody has experienced a similar thing. Okay, and so here's what happens. The starch of the potato helps to keep it all together and homogeneous. Some people, they almost just fry flour. They add in other starch components. But guys, this super teeny tiny potato that we're just dicing up, it actually does so much. Okay? It does so much. It thickens it, but most importantly, it keeps it all together. The potato is quite literally the glue of the lentil soup, right? Whereas normally it would separate as it sits, all the solids settle to the bottom. It is actually pretty incredible how far these potatoes are able to really go. So you like adding rice to soups? That's also another really good example, right? If I could try meat from an extinct species, which one would I try? I don't know. Most of those extinct species quite gamey, right? Because they're quite wild. And I don't think there's going to be that many like differences between them. Everybody, really important, because we're not cooking the potatoes immediately. We have to cover it in water. Otherwise, it will oxidize and turn brown. So I'm going to go ahead and take that and just set all of that behind us. So my pressure cooker has about 28 more minutes on it before that's actually done. Everybody, I want you all to take a look at my tomatoes. I want you to see the amount of liquid. Do you guys see how much tomato water that is? All of this tomato liquid would have otherwise ended up in your salad. It would have made it soggy, it would have made it sopping wet, all of the salt would have dissolved in it, and then you would have ended up with a bland salad. Because the salt, of course, is water soluble. It's going to go to the biggest pool of water. That is how osmosis works. It goes wherever there's the least amount of salt, okay? And then your salad chunks are going to be, not seasoned. It's going to be bland. And then all of the liquid will just have the seasoning instead. So guys, pre-salting your tomatoes for a salad is essential. It is essential. It is so important. This is my bulgur wheat that we've just had gently soaking with the hot water. I'm just moving it around slightly just to make sure it's evenly soaking through, okay? And we're just looking to get most of the bite out of it. I'm going to taste a little bit. Right? It still has like some chew to it, but it's going to get a little bit better as it just sits out, okay? So all of my bulgur wheat for the tabbouleh. Does anybody have any questions for me in the meantime? We're just getting through all the different things that we need to get done. In just about a second or so, we're going to start my sautéing process. Also, everly, my answer for how I sharpen my knives is I don't. I get mine professionally sharpened because I don't trust myself with a whetstone yet. I want to take a knife sharpening class one day when I have a little bit more time and I'm able to find somebody that does in person. There's a lot of online guides for whetstones and how to use one. But the reason why I want to do something in person is because they're able to properly adjust your technique. Learning online for something that is physically technical, I actually don't think is very good. Having somebody live, hands-on with you, one-on-one, they're able to really build a good understanding. Independent learning, when it's completely unchecked, can lead to bad technique. How about using a honing iron? So John Dahlia, there is a little bit of conflicting information about actually the efficacy of a honing rod. Okay, what's that knife with a good handle? This is my Corn Damascus petty knife. I'm not gonna lie, I don't actually recommend Damascus knives. Okay, so everybody, I'm actually gonna talk about this really quickly. We'll talk about knife material. Is everybody ready? I wanna hear the nice yes chef. Okay, and I'll talk to you about some of the knives that I have and why I have them, and why I actually, as nice as it is to have this knife shape, it's not amazing. Okay. So, in cooking, there's two rough materials. It's more like a gradient, right, that you necessarily have, right? You have on one end complete stainless steel, and on the other hand, you have complete carbon steel. Why does stainless steel exist? Stainless steel exists because it's not particularly reactive. It's not that reactive with oxygen, it's not that reactive with water, it's not that reactive with acid. So this table, made of stainless steel, because of the fact that it can't rust, it can't oxidize. Okay, and that's what this is. This is a stainless steel knife here. Now, stainless steel, however, because of the presence of chromium inside of it, right, the chromium actually somewhat softens the metal. Softening the metal has two implications. On one hand, it makes it easier to sharpen. On the other hand, that makes it easier to dull, and it doesn't get quite as sharp. Now, the other classification of knives, guys, is called carbon steel. I don't have my carbon steel knife out right now, but this is actually my favorite knife at the moment. This is my Kramer Zwilling carbon steel knife. And you can see it has something called the patina built up on it, which is very gentle oxidization. The beauty of this knife is that it's able to stay sharp for a very long time compared to a stainless steel knife. The issue with a carbon steel knife is that they tend to rust a little bit. Okay? They tend to rust if you leave them exposed to water or acid. So you have to babysit your carbon steel knives. You have to wipe them dry, and the more carbon steel it is on this gradient, the more of a chance it has to rust. But they hold an edge really well. They hold it longer than stainless steel. And then we get into what's called a Damascus knife. So, Damascus knives, it's a historical term for a type of knife that was regarded as, oh, this is the sharpest knife. All that Damascus means nowadays is that it has this pattern. Do you guys see that waviness that the knife has? Do you guys see? Does everybody see that? Do you guys see that gentle, gentle waviness in the metal itself? What they basically do is they take two different kinds of metal, okay, and they fold it over and over itself, and they make a bunch of layers and flatten it, and that's how you get it. The classification of Damascus is completely aesthetic. So anytime you see somebody say Damascus as a selling point, run away from them. Run away from them. Okay, this is a Damascus petty knife. I regret getting this. I should have gotten a carbon steel knife. It would have been able to hold an edge better than this one. Okay, so while it's very beautiful and the shape is very, very nice, Damascus is actually a completely aesthetic classification. It does not do anything for you. Okay? It does not make it sharper by being Damascus. Damascus isn't a protected term or label. It just means that the way that it was made was two different kinds of metal that was folded over itself. Okay? And if anything, it actually sometimes even has worse performance than other types of stainless steel. So, I am not able to go into each of the different grades of metal that there are, but guys, rough rule of thumb, stainless steel, softer, easier to sharpen, cheaper, and a lot easier to handle. Carbon steel, a lot sharper, holds on to that edge longer, but you have to babysit a little bit, okay? So I hope that has improved somebody's understanding. I don't know who asked me about this knife, but that was what this discussion was. It sounds like such a professional and sophisticated word. I can't really handle this change to my worldview. Well, that's right, Taza. I'm sorry to hear it. It's a very fancy name, isn't it? Damascus. So guys, let's head back to the pot. This is the pot where we will make our lentil soup. And we very intentionally did not wash it out. So we seared the beef shank in this. Okay, so we got all of that beautiful beef fat out, and it's combined with the olive oil. And everybody come take a look. Okay, some of you may know this, some of you may not. Do you see all of those stuck brown bits at the bottom? I want to hear yes, chef. Do you guys see all of those brown bits at the bottom of the pot? Okay, so in the cooking world, this is a term that is referred to as fond. This is called fond. Essentially, and I'm going to be heating up the pan, we'll talk about them in just a second. Fond is all of the dissolved proteins once the water has evaporated. So let me explain to you how. You have to think about meat almost like a sponge. As you heat it, you're constricting the sponge, and in between all those muscle fibers is a lot of liquid, and it's pushing that liquid away. That liquid carries with it some amount of proteins dissolved in that water. Okay? And then once that water evaporates from the pan, the proteins are stuck to the bottom. That's called fond. And the fond has actually quite a bit of a significant flavor. That is how you get a lot of oomph out of pan sauces, or in this case, that is why we're using the same pot that's quote unquote dirty. That's why we didn't wash out the pot, not just because we're lazy, but because of the fact that we've developed some fond that we want to get into the rest of the lentil soup. Fond is flavor. That's right, Jack. It is a really good rule of thumb to remember, okay? Does everybody understand? I don't think that was enough yes chefs last time around. So, and not because we're lazy. Now, we want to take good caution to make sure that the fond doesn't burn, that they never go past a dark brown, that it never just turns straight black at the bottom. Because if it does, it's going to scorch and burn. Everybody, we're going to be slowly sauteing the vegetables on a medium-low heat. We're going to release the water, we're going to evaporate the water, and then we're going to slowly caramelize the vegetables in all of that oil. Okay, it's going to get beautiful, it's going to get golden, it's going to get delicious, it's going to get amazing, everybody. Okay, my phone keeps on buzzing, and I have to put it on airplane mode. I have had absolutely enough of it. Okay. So we're slowly heating up that oil, and the order of operations is as follows. We're going to first start off by sauteing my carrots and my onions, because they take the longest amount of time to get the water out of and cook through. Also, thank you, Robert Bob. So we cook the carrots and the onions, and then we're going to add in the garlic. We don't add the garlic in immediately, as well as the chilies, because they tend to burn a little bit easier. And then afterwards, we add in the tomatoes, we add in my lentils, we add in all of that lovely stock, and then we're also going to add a couple of seasonings, which we'll go ahead and talk about now as we prep the garlic. Is $6 too much for a cup of coffee? Jack, that's like good cafe. That's like New York City prices. So it is a lot, but if it does cost that much, it's typically because it was ethically sourced. The reason why coffees like that are so expensive at cafes is because the cost of beans to get them ethically sourced and not made with slave labor costs that much more. Guys, slave labor is alive and well in multiple industries, specifically chocolate and coffee. Right? So that's what's typically referred to as fair trade. Or even if it's not made with slave labor, it's made still with a lot of very exploitative, unethical labor. Right? Those industries are some of the worst as far as it goes. So when you say is $6 too much for a cup of coffee, I mean, yeah, it's a lot of money, but the only reason coffee was cheap before was because it was built off of human exploitation. If anything is cheap in this world, that's kind of why. That's the sinister thing that we never really want to talk about, right? And coffee shops, nobody's getting rich off of owning a coffee shop, mind you, right? Somebody might own a couple of them and they'll make a comfortable living, but nobody's becoming a millionaire off of them except for the big chains. Guys, that is the sad reality of what it means to be alive in today's day and time. All the things that we get that are made by other people, it's probably from a very unethical place. And to some extent, we can't... What is that rumbling? And to some extent, guys, we actually don't have control over everything. And so, this is where the discussion about ethical consumption under capitalism actually comes into play. Okay? And so, there's a very big pitfall here. A very big pitfall that people come into with this once they realize that, oh, all of this stuff comes from bad places. Right? Is they go, well, there's no ethical consumption under capitalism, and so they don't think about anything that they buy. You have to consider and think about what is feasible. What is that sound? What the hell is going on over there? Okay, you have to think about, okay, what is reasonable that you can actually achieve in your own lifetime? What are the different kinds of things that you're okay to do with? Right? That is the conclusion that I'm ultimately trying to get out of this. It is how much money am I willing to put into these different things, and what am I okay with keeping, and how can I just be as best as possible without still really harming myself? That, I think, is the important takeaway from ethical consumption under capitalism, and not the other route, which is I'm never going to try, all of it's bad, so I'm just going to go ahead and give up. Okay, that is not the outcome that I'm trying to encourage here. Okay, does everybody understand what I'm trying to get at? Especially all the Voshites. I'm sure this is something, I feel like this is something that you guys could resonate with, or at least talk to me a little bit about, right? This is something that I'd love to hear some of your thoughts on. Okay, so guys, at the moment, my oil has been slowly but surely heating up. My fond has been getting a little bit brown, and we want to add in my vegetables before the fond burns. Okay, so we're adding in all of my onions and all of my carrot first, because if we add in the garlic, if we add in the chilies at the stage, they're just going to end up scorching instead, and that is not what I'm looking for. Everybody, the process of sautéing vegetables cannot be rushed. This is a 3-stage cooking process. The first stage is the collapsing stage, everybody, okay? The first stage is the collapsing stage, and we need to first collapse the vegetables so they release their water. Once the vegetables release their water, we evaporate it, and once there is no water, we'll be able to get everything nice and golden brown. You cannot rush the process of sautéing. This is going to take like 15 minutes. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and hit it with some salt. The reason why we hit it with salt is because the salt is going to help facilitate pulling out some amount of the liquid. I can smell that beef stock. I can smell that beef fat, guys, from that lovely beef shank. All of it is inside the pot at the moment, okay? And as the vegetables release their water, guys, we're able to dissolve the protein in the vegetable liquid. So scrape up the pan. This is what's called deglazing. Proteins are sticky. However, with the presence of both heat and water, we can dissolve the proteins back into the liquid, which is exactly what we'll be doing with the soup. Right? So the vegetables have already released their own liquid, and we can get those proteins to dissolve back in to that liquid instead of being stuck and burning at the bottom. That is why scraping at the stage and scraping aggressively is so important, everybody. Okay? I'm going to go ahead and grab a little coaster plate for us. But that is why I'm taking so much time to really make sure that I'm getting everything unstuck from the bottom. And the only reason we're able to get things unstuck from the bottom is because the vegetables carry their own liquid. Why do you guys think you hear deglaze with wine, deglaze with stock or something? You're adding in liquid for the proteins to come back and dissolve into again. Okay? So I'm going to have a little sip of water. And my friends, that's all that it means to deglaze. It's a really fancy term. All that we're doing is we're just melting the protein, well, not melting, but we're dissolving the proteins back into the water. So while that's going, and because we have a little bit of time before the vegetables actually start sauteing, again, this is a process that takes quite a bit of time, let's go ahead and work on some garlic. We're going to need some garlic for both the salad today as well as my lentil soup. And guys, if you know me at all, which I feel like at this point you should, at least a little bit, you know that there is no such thing as too much garlic. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and get a whole bunch of cloves. I think for the salad, I'm only going to limit it to 1 to 2 cloves. Okay, so yeah, we'll talk about that in a second. Pretty phone case. Ooh, my phone's not supposed to be there. That's not a professional shot, is it? Mic framing today, very sloppy. Okay, so let's go ahead and get that all into the bowl. Okay, everybody, I need your attention for this. Okay, because I'm gonna blow some of you guys' minds. Okay, also Dosky, welcome on in. It's lovely to have you. So let's talk about the pungency of garlic and how to understand garlic. So remember when I said, I don't care how I'm cutting these vegetables, I'm gonna be blending the soup. Well, this doesn't actually apply to the garlic, and I'm going to explain to you why. The garlic pungency is exclusively produced in the raw stage. Have you guys ever had roasted garlic? Right? Garlic that's just been roasted whole, and it's very sweet. It's not pungent, it's not stinky, it just tastes kind of sweet and creamy. That's because the garlic was completely unchopped, unprocessed before it was actually cut and eaten. If the more that you chop it, the more that you crush it in the raw stage, the more pungent it becomes. And the reason for that is because we're producing a little something called allicin. It's a natural defense mechanism of the garlic to try to discourage predators from biting into it. Okay? But in our case, I want that garlic pungency. I want that garlic funk. I want that garlic flavor. The less garlic flavor you want in something, the less you chop it. The more garlic flavor that you want, guys, and I mean like that pungency, the more that you chop it. Okay? And we're using a garlic press that's completely crushing it all the way. And what that results in is the most pungent stage of garlic possible. Okay? So I hope at least somebody didn't know that. I know I talk about this all the time. It is just, that is how you understand garlic. That's the difference between sliced garlic, crushed garlic, and whole garlic. Whole garlic, if you cook it, it's not going to be pungent. Sliced garlic, a good bit pungent. Crushed garlic, incredibly pungent. Okay? So, the reason why I crush it with a bench scraper first is because this allows us to easily separate the skin. Okay? Yeah, garlic didn't count on humans being freaks of nature. Neither did spicy chilies, right? Neither did chilies. Chilies did not really think, like, okay, they have like this, mutually beneficial relationship with birds where birds don't feel the capsaicin in the seeds and then they spread the seeds around, right? Chilies and garlic were not ready for humanity at all, right? We're masochists. We like the spice and we like the pungency, right? And it's been learned. It's a socially taught thing, right? We grew up eating it, and then we discovered that we actually like it, and it makes things interesting, right? That's all that flavor is. Flavor is contextual, and it's preference, and we get used to things. And the reason why we don't find that pungency to actually be kind of unpleasant is because if you grew up eating any amount of garlic, or you have enough garlic dishes, your brain naturally over time says, hey, this actually isn't a threat. This isn't poisonous. Also, that sign, that timer is telling us that my wheat is done soaking. I'm just going back through them, stirring up my vegetables really good. Okay, I'm just stirring them up properly. Lovely. But yeah, guys, the reason why we have come to enjoy things like dark chocolate, for instance, is because the first time that you have dark chocolate, right, what even is an acquired taste to begin with? An acquired taste is something that you've tricked your brain to not be upset about. Normally, bitter is a biological mechanism for us to detect that something is poisonous. Spicy, it's supposed to be directly painful, right? And so, by going through that process enough times, our brain, either in adolescence or even later in life, it actually just naturally becomes, wait a second, this is okay. I don't really mind this, right? So everybody, I have these two little condiment cups. So a very small amount of the garlic, because again, it's going to be really pungent, is going to go towards the salad. And then the rest of these big boys are going to all go towards my lentil soup. And as always, everybody, my favorite kitchen tool that I will talk about every single day until the day that I die is going to be a garlic press, because chopping garlic by hand is a waste of time. It is sticky, it is small, okay, and it is incredibly annoying. Because of the fact that I always want to max out my pungency, we have to be garlic maxing, everybody. Okay? Because of the fact that we're garlic maxing, we're going to use the garlic press. It makes short, quick, easy work of all of the different things that we need to do. So let's go ahead and process up all of my lovely cloves. Okay? And if these are a little bit too big, I'm just going to cut a few of them in half just so they fit in a little bit easier. You have got to be garlic maxing, everybody, okay? But yeah, basically, this was just a big, long discussion about acquired taste and how humanity has sort of overcome biology to not recognize certain things as poisons. I hate cleaning garlic presses. Blunder puffin. Here's my suggestion. The most annoying thing about cleaning a garlic press is when it dries off. Because when it dries off, all of it is stuck in the holes. A little brush. I just use my kitchen brush. I use my kitchen brush, poke it, and it's perfect. Right? You just need a little bit of soap, if any soap at all, but a little bit of soap, especially because we're crushing all those plant cells so that it doesn't mold, right? And I just do my brush. Poke the holes with a little brush, and I promise you, you will never have any issues with cleaning your garlic presses again. Okay, so I'm going to get all of that garlic into that bowl because I really want to emphasize, guys, I do not want too much garlic in my tabbouleh. So a little bit goes a long way in this case. A little bit in, crush it, push it all the way through. This one isn't so amazing though. It's like getting stuck on like the sides of it and everything. There we go. And let's get that all into my lovely little bowl. And again, I know this doesn't seem like a lot, but I promise you guys that little teeny tiny bit of garlic, it does go a fairly long way. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and come back to my pot because now, my friends, we have officially hit the sautéing stage. You can hear how the sound of the vegetables has changed. Okay, that is how you know now we're building color. Now we're frying it in the oil. And it took us a lot of time because the first thing that we needed to do was to evaporate all of that liquid. If we didn't evaporate the liquid, right, it wouldn't have ever sauteed. So guys, all of those recipes that you see that say saute your onions for 5 minutes, they're completely meaningless. Look at my onions. Look at my carrots. Do they look golden yet? Not at all. Because to caramelize them properly, my friends, you first have to get rid of the water and then the Maillard reaction can take place. It takes time, my friends, and this process cannot be rushed. Okay? It just cannot be. So, there you go. That's my little spiel about that for y'all. My pressure cooker has about 6 more minutes on it before my stock is done. The stock is going to be what the lentils are going to end up cooking in. Everybody, because we're cooking at home, as always, the rule is that you must clean as you go. Clean as you go, and then you will not end up with a big pile of dirty dishes at the end of it. And also, by cleaning as you go, something like a garlic press, we poke it when it's still wet, when it's still fresh, okay? And then none of that garlic has dried into all the nooks and crannies. So it cleans up so much easier. And so now, everybody, this is a stage where we do need to babysit these vegetables. So medium-low heat, properly fry them, nice and golden brown. Also, John Dahlia, thank you so much for stopping by. It's lovely to have you as always. Okay, let's go ahead. Let's go back and let's stir up my veggies. Let's stir them up, guys. We're looking for a nice, deep, gorgeous, golden brown on them. And my soup is not going to be heavily spiced. I'm not going to do cumin. I'm not going to do coriander. The only additions that I'm going to have is going to be some Turkish red pepper. So everybody, let's actually talk about this ingredient for a second. Okay, and let's talk about different kinds of chilies in the kitchen. And let's also talk about how interchangeable they are. This is a little bit of a Turkish red pepper flake. This is called Aleppo pepper, if you've ever seen it in stores. Right? Also, Nas TV, welcome on in. This is the best cooking show on Twitch. If you have any cooking questions, please feel free to ask me. Okay? So, also, Trash Can Cat Mom, I'm very happy for you. Guys, this is some Aleppo pepper. Now, if you do not have access to Aleppo pepper, that is completely okay. It doesn't have to be a super traditional chili that is used exactly in that cuisine. The most important thing about cooking at home is localizing it based on what is actually available in your area, what is cheap, what is affordable for you. So, a really good substitute for this is something like gochujang. Gochugaru. Gochugaru is the Korean red pepper flakes that you can find at every Asian grocery store. Okay? These are both chilies that are slightly fruity in taste. This is not just pure cayenne pepper, right? It has a really delicious chili flavor to it, okay? It's going to give the soup a really, really nice characteristic. But instead of this, you could use something like gochugaru. You could use pasilla chilies. You could use guajillo chilies. Now, will they be identical? No, they'll all be slightly different, guys. But at the end of the day, chilies are chilies. They have a lot of things in common. Now, their individuality is what really separates them, and all of their different flavor profiles, all their different aromas, their different spice levels. But at the end of the day, they're all somewhat interchangeable. So don't go out of your way to buy Aleppo pepper if there isn't, you know, a Middle Eastern supermarket near you, if there isn't anything that carries that near you. Use gochugaru, maybe use some Mexican chilies, right? Just get creative with it, my friends. You can use aromatic Chinese chilies. I forgot like what the name of the dried red chilies are. You could use Kashmiri chilies. The world is your oyster, my friends. That is the beauty of cooking. There are so few hard set rules. The most important thing is making things convenient for you in a home setting. Okay, so we have some of these lovely chilies. Okay, all ready to go. And the only thing I'm going to do now, guys, is I'm going to be washing up my lentils for today. Okay, and the reason why I want to wash off the lentils and we just want to sort them a little bit is just because sometimes they have just some stuff on it. They have some dust on it, right? So we're going to go ahead. I have some lovely red lentils. So let's talk about lentils, guys. The way that you need to think about lentils, here's how you understand them. So guys, you've obviously all seen, I want to hear a nice yes, chef, all the different kinds of lentils. Black lentils, green lentils, lipui lentils, brown lentils, red lentils, golden lentils. I'm sure that you guys have seen a million different varieties of lentils, correct? Okay, so how do you begin to understand all of these different lentil varieties? Well, I'm going to go ahead and blow your guys' mind for a second. So, while they all somewhat come from different actual like varietals of lentils, all of that is true, the majority of the differences have to do more so with the size rather than the flavor. However, there's two classifications of lentils. There's skinned lentils and there's skin-on lentils. Red lentils, yellow lentils, split peas. You guys see this? It's because it has the skin off. Brown lentils, green lentils, black lentils, okay, they're just skin on. Now, what does that mean? That means that red lentils and yellow lentils, they don't hold their shape when they cook. They turn into mush. And in my case, that's actually very, very important because my goal is to be able to get a beautiful lentil soup. I effectively want these to turn into mush. However, I wouldn't use something like brown lentils or green lentils for this because they hold their shape because of the fact that they have their skin intact. Brown lentils, green lentils, black lentils, they're much more suited if you want whole lentil pieces or alternatively, if you want to use them in something like a salad. So, hopefully, I've just expanded everybody's mind about lentils for a second. All that I'm going to go ahead and do, guys, is I'm just going to give them a quick little wash, right? I'm going to go ahead and just just cover them in some water, rinse them out a few different times until that water runs mostly clear, and then we'll pick through it to see if there's any stuff on there that really shouldn't be there, okay? So, in the meantime, you can watch my veggies. Is everybody still watching? I want to hear another yes, chef. Also, coffee. Welcome on in. It's lovely to have you. My beef stock is almost done, excuse me. It's got about a minute left on it. We'll release the pressure. We'll be cooking the lentils and all of that beautiful stock, guys. Okay, I'm just going to go back in and stir up my veggies. And you can see they're getting nice and soft, my friends. They're getting nice and golden. And that is my pressure cooker singing, if not yelling to me, that it is done. Okay, it is done. So, buddy, chill out, please, and thank you. We'll cancel it. And now, really quickly, guys, all that I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm just going to rinse off my lentils and strain out that water because we don't need all of that excess lentil liquid. We don't need all that liquid to go into the soup. But just wash it out, get all the dust off of it, get anything off of it that shouldn't look like that, just shouldn't be there. Okay, and we'll just go through it a few times, just like we wash and rice. Okay, but it is pretty important that we do get all that excess water out because I want my lentils to absorb as much of that flavorful broth as possible and not just bland, plain old water. Okay? So, just going through it, guys, washing up my lentils really quickly, getting it all done, giving it a nice little wash, scrubbing it. Does anybody have any questions for me in the meantime? This is a good time to ask me as I am, currently occupied with this. And then, I gotta figure out what I'm doing on Wednesday's stream. This is maybe my saturation point with the amount of consecutive, Middle Eastern dishes I feel like I've been doing recently. Just the flavor profile itself, I'm getting a little, okay, I would like to do something a little bit new. So we'll figure that out. Not that I'm really looking for suggestions, I'm just more so vocalizing what's, you know, what I have on my mind at the moment. Okay, my lentils, got them all mostly washed until that water is just about clear, my friends. Just cleaning them up nicely. Okay, that should be all good to cook with now. Awesome. And now, guys, the only thing that you do want to do, though, oftentimes, red lentils and yellow lentils, you might have, okay, you might have a couple of little stones in them, okay? Because those stones, in the grinding process to get rid of the seeds, also guys, these veggies are looking amazing. In the grinding process to get rid of all of the seed, not the seeds, excuse me, to get rid of all the skins, there can sometimes be little teeny tiny fragments of stone. It's not super often, especially nowadays, but it still does occasionally happen. So anything that looks off color inside of all of these red lentils, guys, we're going to go ahead and get rid of. And then also, I did not actually pour out as much liquid as I probably should have. There you go. So all I'm going to do, guys, is I'm just going to swipe through them a little bit, and I'm just looking for any little fragments that look like they do not belong. Like right here, I have this little white chunk. I don't know what that is. I don't know if it's the inner part of that lentil. It's also easier to do this when it's like, I don't know, not wet. I should have probably done this before I washed it, because now it's just all sticking to my hands. So, my fault. I see a couple of little guys that I can get rid of for sure. Oh, everybody, I made a mistake. I should have done this beforehand. What's up with lentils for 2 streams straight? Well, I'm the Race of Monkey. I don't think we did lentils for 2 streams straight. I don't know when's the last time I did lentils. Right, last time I did lentils was the Turkish lentil soup, wasn't it? That was quite a while ago. There you go. Okay, you know what, guys? If we have stones, then my teeth will be very unhappy with me. Okay, but I am not. I made a mistake. I should have probably done that before I washed my lentils. But guys, such is life. You don't get to control every little tiny bit sometimes. You make a little mistake, and it's okay. Again, like historically, also like depending on where you get it from, it might have more stones than others. The kind that you get from a supermarket comes in a plastic thing. They don't typically have a lot that you have to worry about. Also, Grimpy Coffee, welcome on in. So everybody, my veggies are now beautifully and properly sauteed. Okay, and it is now at this stage that we're going to add in the chilies and add in the garlic. The reason why we didn't do it sooner was because the chilies and the garlic, they have a risk of burning, okay? And so we add them in later in the process. We're still going to infuse them into the oil. We're still going to get them nice and golden, everybody. So getting all of that inside, all of it in, all of it in, all of it in, and we're releasing the pressure from my beef stock. And then we'll finish making the tabbouleh as the lentil soup itself gets made. Okay? So guys, we're stirring it up now. And you want to be stirring often because you don't want that garlic to stick. You don't want that garlic to burn, my friends. Okay? So stir it up, stir it up, stir it up, stir it up. Stir it up, everybody. Scrape off anything that could be potentially stuck to the bottom of the pan. Okay? Stir it up, infuse it with all of that flavor. And similarly, guys, we're also going to be basically frying the Aleppo pepper. We're going to infuse the oil. Why are the chilies and garlic at risk for burning? That has to do with sugar content, probably a couple of other things. I think it mostly has to do with sugar content. So guys, I'm going to get a bunch of this really delicious Aleppo pepper inside, and we're toasting the pepper now. We're toasting it, we're infusing it into the oil. The oil is becoming nice and aromatic, and we are developing all of that flavor, my friends. This lentil soup, do you see how much love we are giving this thing? We're giving it a lot of love, a lot of attention, a lot of affection, because that is what she deserves above all else. And now, last but not least, guys, we will add in the tomatoes. The reason why I didn't add in the tomatoes immediately, okay, is because the tomatoes are wet, meaning any sort of sautéing is just going to immediately stop then. So I wanted to properly brown all of my different veggies, my spices, my garlic, my chili, before I added the tomato, because this basically cools off the pan. We add it in, it cools off the pan, we have all of that tomato liquid that came with it, okay? And now the frying stage has completely and totally ended, my friends. Okay, and now you could just boil it. We're just gonna crank up the heat, get rid of some liquid while we go ahead and think about our stock, my friends. So as the tomato cooks, it's gonna release some liquid. It's gonna make that pot even wetter, but that's the order of operations that we followed. First, the carrots and the onions in the oil. Then we did the garlic and the chilies. Then we did the spices, and then we did the tomato. Okay, so we finish it with something wet when we want it to stop sautéing. Okay? The thing that's wet that you want to saute, you add in the beginning because it needs the longest amount of time to cook. In my case, we're not browning the tomatoes, we're not sauteing them, we're not charring them, we're not doing anything like that at all. All that I really want is to get my tomatoes nicely and beautifully cooked through. Okay? That's how simple it is, guys. That is just how easy it is. And now, with that being said, my beef stock is complete. We have a gorgeous, delicious, incredible beef stock. And in fact, what I could probably do is just take this off of the stove for a second, or just put it onto a different burner at the moment and just have that continue to cook up and soften. Because guys, it is time for us to inspect that delicious beef stock that you and I, that's us, hi, that we have worked so hard to make, together, okay? So I'm gonna get rid of this really quickly. Is everybody ready for this? This is where I want to hear a nice yes, chef. Please and thank you. And I'm just going to set this little guy on. Sorry if that messed with the camera and it seemed like it did. Whoops. Okay, guys, and this is my pride and joy. This is what the lentils are going to cook in. It's beefy, it's intense, and it was also a really nice way of using up my existing vegetable scraps. I already had parsley stems, I already had some onion peels, and so instead of throwing them away, we made the most out of it, okay, everybody? How's my bulgur doing, by the way? That's quite good. Okay. So just stirring up my tomatoes just to make sure they don't squelch at the bottom, but they're just gonna release liquid. It's basically gonna become like this little tomato sauce, nice low heat. So guys, that's my lovely beef stock, okay? And inside we have that beef shank. That beef shank we're gonna take out, and then we're going to shred it up and put it back into the soup at the end. And the only other thing that we really need to do is to strain this, okay? So I'm gonna go in with my tongs. Okay, I'm gonna get some of those yucky parsley stems out of there. I'm gonna go ahead and grab this plate and let's see if we can take that piece of beef out without it completely falling apart, which is gonna be a bit of a challenge. It is so tender at the moment, everybody, that it does truly tear off the bone. As you can see, as I try to pick up the bone, it all came off in one shot. So, the answer is it's not going to be quite as easy as you and I had hoped it would be. So we're going to have to take it out piece by piece, just like so. We'll cool it down and then we'll shred it up, my friends. And we will have some beautiful shredded beef to go into my lentil soup for today. Okay, so just going in, taking this guy. Come on, buddy. Out you go. Thank you very much. Taking this. Out you go. Thank you very much. And let's see if there's any more little remaining pieces of beef that I've left behind. And I do not believe that that is the case. Okay, excellent, everybody. So my beef is done. My beef is cooked through. And that's right, Two Dads Kissing. Actually, I think it might be a job for Mr. Strainer. I think this might just be strainer time at the moment. But first, let's go ahead and into my waste bowl. We'll take out all of the big chunks. Also, Justin P, welcome on. Just Ib, welcome on in. It's lovely to have you. I'm gonna go ahead and take out all of my little scraps just so they don't clog up my strainer. So my onion peels, okay? All of my tomato scraps, guys. Again, we made the most out of all of these little scraps so that we are not wasting anything at all, okay? Take everything out that's in a big chunk, okay? And now we're going to have to go ahead and strain up the whole thing, just to go ahead and get rid of any and all remaining solids that we do not want to have in our final lentil soup, okay? So, we're going to go in now. We're going to grab a strainer, everybody. We're going to strain in that stock. We're going to add the lentils. We're going to add the potatoes. We're going to add in a little bit of dried mint, and then we're going to let that whole thing cook, okay? So, in goes all of my stock into the pot. In it all goes, all of it, every single last bit of it inside, my friends. Everything all at once. There you go. All of it in. And now, my friends, this is the start of an incredible lentil soup. We're going to take this, and we're going to take this, and we're going to get this back on up to a boil, everybody. Is a chinois strainer a bit of a space waster if we're only doing stock? A chinois strainer is a very like professional restaurant thing. But in the meantime, everybody, we have to talk about all of this other stuff that we got going on. So, my lovely potatoes. So the potatoes are the real, if there was a secret ingredient, it's the potatoes. Because the potatoes, they stop the lentil soup from being too separated. The starch that the potato adds, when we blend it all in, my friends, it basically becomes the glue of the soup. The potato is a really magical ingredient that will, and I hate saying the word level up. I feel like, when I say level up, I feel like somebody on, you know, like an off-brand cooking show, like not a Food Network cooking show, right? But like wherever, for instance, MasterChef is hosted, right? I feel like that's what I feel like when I say this is really going to level it up. But I'm telling you guys, that potato really, truly will. That potato is going to hold it all together. And now I add in all of my washed and rinsed lentils. All of it goes into the pot, my friends. Let's get everything off of my wooden spoon. And then this just has to cook until the potatoes and lentils get soft, which is anywhere from 15 to 30 minutes. And then we blend it all together. And that is going to be our lentil soup, everybody. So we add in the lentils, every single last one, because I don't want to waste any of them. Come on, buddy. In you go. Please and thank you. So many little lentils that just get stuck to the sides. Whatever, it's fine. That should be more or less okay. And now everybody, we just gotta take it up and we gotta boil it. We gotta boil it, we gotta cook it until everything in the pot gets nice and soft, and we'll just blend it all together. And that is how easy it is. That is just how easy it is, okay? Chef is about to kick it up a notch. Oh my God, Serena. Oh Lord. Yeah, that one was a little bit brutal, I have to say. That one I am not crazy about at all. Okay, everybody, let's do a recap session. Is everybody ready for this? So, we've got a lot done and we still have quite a little bit more to go. We're making two dishes today. We're making a beef lentil soup, inspired by this Turkish lentil soup that I grew up eating, and we're also making a tabbouleh. A tabbouleh is a parsley salad. It is a parsley salad first and foremost. It's an herb salad. It's eaten all over the Middle East. We've been salting some tomatoes, okay? And for the soup, we sauteed onions and carrots in some beef fat and olive oil. We made our own beef stock out of a beef shank, okay? Everything has been properly sauteed. We added in some garlic, we added in some chilies, we added in some Aleppo pepper, we added in some potatoes, some tomato, and then last but not least, all of that delicious beef stock and some lentils. The carrots and the onions, they make it fragrant and sweet. The potato helps with the viscosity and it holds it all together. The potato is the glue of the soup. The lentil is the base of the soup. Okay? Whew. So much. We got so much going on, and now we have to do the tabbouleh, my friends. Okay, we have to do everything else that's left over for it. So we'll get to that in just a second. And you guys can already see, look at that gorgeous color. Look at the color from the tomato. Look at the color from the chilies. And this is before it gets blended. So this is me doing my Google impression, right? Which is, and if you think it looks good now, just wait. Because in 20 to 30 minutes or so, when we blend it up, we will yield a really, really beautiful final soup, my friends, okay? So a bunch of salt goes in, and you can always season it at the end because it's a blended soup, right? So it doesn't really actually matter all that much when you do choose to add the salt or not. In this kind of a case, but normally when you are making something like a soup, it is important to season in layers to get all of the different chunks, right? To get all of those chunks evenly seasoned. But again, in the case of a blended soup, you could theoretically add all of your salt at the end and it would be exactly the same. But only with blended soups, that is the case, when it doesn't have any chunks inside of it. Okay, and I'm washing off my strainer because I'm gonna need my strainer for the tomatoes in just about a second. Because this had the beef broth and I don't want any beef broth in my tabbouleh. Okay, everybody, I want you all to see what happened with my tomatoes. This is the tomato incident. Well, actually completely intentional, but we still got to talk about this. Everybody come take a look. Look how much water came out of these tomatoes. And this is why we did all of that effort, everybody. This is why we pre-salted it. If we didn't pre-salt these tomatoes, we would end up with, essentially, a bunch of wet, slimy tabbouleh. By pre-salting it, we get rid of all of this excess liquid. So I'm going to show you guys exactly how much came out in a second, because we're going to strain all of this out. Take a sip of it. Jack, it's too salty, because this has all of the salt from the tomatoes that we took out, right? So guys, come take a look. I want you all to see, before even drip drying, how much, whoa, that just fell all over my cutting board. Guys, look at this amount of water. This is essentially 1.5 vine tomatoes that we have here left over. From 1.5 vine tomatoes, look at that sheer amount of liquid, everybody. Look at that amount of liquid. All of that would have ended up in our tabbouleh. And that is why we did the effort of pre-salting it. And that is why it is something I'm going to constantly advocate for until the day that I die. Okay? Pre-salting, everybody. Pre-salting your tomatoes for something like a salad, it just goes such a long way. I can't even begin to describe it. Well, I guess I've already done. I've already described it this whole time, haven't I? Okay. So I'm just going ahead and I'm gathering all the stuff up for use. Okay, and then we're going to go ahead and just let this drip dry a little bit over our strainer, okay? Because again, the goal is to get rid of any and all excess moisture for the tabbouleh. All right, everybody? So I'm just gonna go ahead and let this drip like this until we're ready to use it. This is my waste bowl. All of that tomato liquid, we're gonna go ahead and get rid of it at some point. Also, we had this bulgur wheat. This is a very nice component of the salad as well. It's going to give it some structure. This bulgur wheat we've had soaking, okay? And it does not need the rest of that liquid. So we can go ahead and just slightly strain some of this out with my hands as well. And then once the strainer frees up, we'll use that too. I think investing in multiple metal, like fine mesh strainers, would be very, very good for me to have around. But at the moment, guys, this is my bulgur wheat, and then we'll just be patting it dry with some towels. Okay, so what else do we have left to do for the salad? We have to slice my herbs, we have to chop the onion, we have to juice my lemon, and we have to combine it all, but we have to make sure that everything is really, really finely chopped. This is a very delicate salad, my friends. Everything is super, super processed in it, okay? So now my lentil soup is slowly but surely coming together, and this is going to be the time for us to do some of the processing that we need. So, is everybody ready for this? I'm going to go ahead and have a little sip of water before we begin. Lovely. So once again, I'm just always wiping off my station just to make sure that it's really, really easy for us to work with. And now, the goal is to get a really beautifully fine diced onion, because I don't want massive, massive chunks of onion inside of this kind of a salad. Okay? Have I ever traveled abroad? Yes. Have I ever talked to chefs abroad? Not particularly, right? I don't know many chefs to begin with, especially abroad. But what I do love asking Shop and Chris, what I do love is I love asking somebody how they grew up with a certain food. How do they grow up eating it? What do they eat it with? Because you get a very specific perspective that actually isn't usually archived everywhere. There's so many cultures, there's so many cuisines out there that aren't actually all that documented because of how much of it is verbal or how much of it is purely through lived experience. So my favorite thing to do is when I know somebody's from like a certain culture, and we of course have that repertoire, I love asking, hey, how did you eat this? What time of the day did you eat this thing with? And that, so even though that's not exactly the question that you asked me, that is the way that I've interpreted it. That is something that I love, love, love doing. I love hearing about the way that people grew up with certain things. Okay? That gives you a very, I think, essential culinary perspective. Okay? Also, MRQ, welcome on in. It's lovely to have you. I have no idea what you just said, though. So, everybody, we have this onion here. We have an onion half. The goal is to go ahead and finely dice it. Would I make Albanian food? I mean, I don't know anything about Albanian food, but I would love to someday, right? So, we have this lovely onion. Guys, my goal is to get a really, really fine, thin dice. Not a small dice, not a medium dice, because it needs to match the texture of all of my other salad components. So, onion. We're going to go ahead and take it, and we're going to make a bunch of parallel thin incisions, guys. This is called the onion fan method. Is it rare to see skinless lentils? Well, that's interesting. So, Carrot Cube, tell me, where are you from if you're comfortable sharing? And do you really not have red or yellow lentils? And by the way, you could theoretically skin all of like the brown and green lentils, and you would end up with red or yellow lentils inside. They tend to be more so orangey than anything else, but all that red and yellow lentils are once previously brown, green, or black lentils that have had their skin taken off. Ooh, guys, this soup is beginning to really come together. It is incredibly aromatic. You've never seen skinless lentils? Well, if we're talking about like golden lentils, so in European cooking, you don't typically see a lot of red lentils and yellow lentils. This is a very big Middle Eastern thing. It's a very big South Asian thing. It's a very big Indian thing as well. If you want skinless lentils, I would recommend maybe trying to find a South Asian grocery store. Because even in Europe, I know there's quite a few South Asian grocery stores, an African grocery store, right? A Middle Eastern grocery store. That is where you would be able to find red and yellow lentils. So, hopefully, that's able to help out a little bit. So guys, look at it. This is my my camera got so white for a second. This is my fanned out onion. Okay, we're going to make a couple of horizontal incisions as well because I want my onions to be super, super finely diced in my final salad. And I mean finely diced. So we made those incisions, guys, and now we slice it and we slice it and we slice it thin. Basically, paper thin, everybody. Paper thin, paper thin. Paper thin. Look at my beautiful slices. Look at that. That is what I call a proper fine dice. Maybe more close to a small dice. But you can go even finer than that if you would like. But really, really thin, my friends, okay? Really, really thin. Because again, we don't want to bite into a massive chunk of raw, pungent onion inside of a salad. We bite into that kind of an onion, guys, and you're not going to want to go back in for a second bite, okay? The salad is supposed to be delicate. The salad is supposed to be aromatic, okay? And by doing it this way, we go ahead and we really, really mitigate a lot of that potential pungency from the onion. Okay, so that is all of my onion. I'm gonna go ahead and grab this little bowl, wash it out quickly, and then we're gonna be soaking the onion inside of some lemon juice, and we'll talk about why and the function of that in just a second. Ooh, guys, you can see that even with just continuing to strain it, we're getting a lot more liquid out of the tomatoes. You wanna keep up that process, guys. Keep it up, keep it straining, keep it draining. Okay? This is, I don't even really know what drain getting means, but you get the idea. Okay, I'm gonna just go ahead and quickly wipe off my bowl. Okay, everybody, I'm gonna go back and I'm just gonna stir the soup just to make sure that there's nothing sticking on the sides. We're scraping up the sides, we're scraping up the bottom, okay? And by the end of it, everybody, we'll be left with a lovely, gorgeous lentil soup. So, let's go ahead and grab all of my onions, everybody. All of them. This is just half an onion that we used. Again, I don't want too much onion. You can use scallions, you can use red onions, you can use whatever you got. I already had these onions on hand, and so that is what I'm adding to my tabbouleh. Okay? So onions, they go in, and now everybody, really, really important, we're going to soak them with some lemon juice. By soaking your onions in a little bit of lemon juice, we actually kill a lot of that pungency. Okay? So I'm going to go ahead and just slice it. We're going to start off with just half a lemon for the salad for now. I'm going to save one lemon absolutely for a wedge later on. But guys, little citrus juicer, one of my favorite kitchen tools of all time. Take it, squish it all the way down, press it, press it, press it. Obtain all of that lemon juice and pour it over the onions. And by letting those onions for at least a little bit of time independently sit with it, we remove some amount of that pungency, okay? So, soaking it in lemon juice, letting it do its thing, letting it all happen, all of it submerged, all of it tucked in there, okay? And let's get rid of that lemon half, and then we might use that lemon later on, but we'll definitely use a wedge of it for garnishing the lentil soup. Because guys, you can't have a lentil soup without a little bit of lemon, okay? So, my bulgur wheat as well, we'll need to drain off, we'll need to pat it dry with some paper towels. Guys, we have so much work still left to do for this lovely salad, okay? And the next step of which is gonna be slicing up my herbs. So, I'm just managing my bowls and figuring out where everything needs to be going at the moment. I believe we're ready to start building some components of the salad at the moment, okay? So here's all that we're going to do. I am going to quickly rinse out this bowl. This bowl is where we will be building the salad, okay? And in an effort to use up a few less dishes when I cook, because guys, I make a huge mess. I use up a lot of dishes. I'm just gonna repurpose the same bowl for the salad today, okay? So I'm just gonna wash out any of that tomato juice, and then we're going to make sure that it's all nice and dry. Lovely. Well, Cleveland Pipeline, I'm sorry to hear that, but this is a PG-13-ish kind of channel. So can I get a mod? Can I get one of my lovely moderators to get on that really quickly, please? And thank you. Okay, so all I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna wipe off this bowl because again, we want as little moisture in this thing as possible, everybody. Thank you. That would be a ban in this case as well. Guys, let's be normal. Let's be normal. All right, my bowl nicely dried off. There we go, all ready to go for my salad today. And let's go ahead and put down Mr. Paper Towel. And everybody, all that we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and put all of my tomatoes in. Also, Sunny Peach Crush, welcome on in. It's lovely to have you. Also, sorry about that, guys. Thank you, mods. Everybody, can we please get a thank you, mods? Or specifically, thank you, Trash Can Cat Mom, for being able to handle that. Thank you. Very sweet of you, as always. Okay. I'm just scraping up all the stuff that could be potentially stuck to. Did I just splash lentil soup on me? I believe so. How's my day going? My day's got to be pretty good, I got to say. My day's pretty good, just chill. I went out to a really lovely show last night. Had a really, really good time. And so today, I'm admittedly a little exhausted from that, but I'm still powering through today's stream. So I don't know if I'm a little bit more low energy than usual. So I do apologize for that. So guys, paper towel, tomatoes, pat them all dry, pat them dry, pat them dry, right? Because we don't want any additional liquid inside of this kind of a salad. Okay, we want it to be really, really delicate. Also, these are not new hair, like, everybody keeps saying that to me, Sunny Peach Crush, but these are actually just from before. I used to have my entire hair dyed a couple of years ago, and this is just it all grown out now. So, thank you. I've gotten that compliment a couple of times recently, which I just think is pretty funny, considering that's just not the, case here. But thank you, nonetheless. That's not to say that it was a bad compliment. It was just incorrect, right? Okie dokie. So, let's go ahead and get my bulgur wheat inside as well, everybody. And once again, this little guy right here, we're going to go ahead and just pat this dry as well. You saw the aftermath? No worries. That's right. I posted a picture of me on Twitter looking exhausted after the show. I danced very, very hard. Okay? So, thank you, Jack. That's very sweet of you. But also, we don't have to talk about my appearance all the time. We don't have to. I'd rather just focus on the cooking portion. I'd rather focus on what we're doing here. So all of my bulgur wheat in, and everybody similarly to the tomatoes, we take it and then we also pat it really nice and dry. We take it and we pat it dry. We take it and we pat it dry. Because again, moisture is the enemy of this kind of a salad, everybody, okay? The goal is for everything to be really, really finely processed. The goal is to get rid of anything that could potentially make it too soggy for us today, okay? So, that's that. That's my bulgur wheat and my salted tomatoes as well. And now, everybody, we're going to have to go ahead and begin processing up all of my herbs. Chef, have you applied for the Twitch partner? Sunny Peach Crush, bad news. We gotta leave this channel. Because this channel was made before I turned 13 years old, it's a whole thing. I made this channel when I was just a few months before 13 because of some COPPA violations. This channel will never be allowed to be officially Twitch partner. So follow the backup, everybody! Exclamation mark backup. Follow Daramgar TV on Twitch. That is where we will be moving, and I will announce the move-in date this Friday. Okay, which is going to be sometime in June or so that we'll be moving to that channel. So have I applied for it? Yeah, sad because we just hit 11K. That's right, Jack. So everybody, go to the backup channel. Go to the backup channel, really important. So my lentil soup is currently going. Now let's go ahead and finish everything else that we need to do for the salad. Just my station is getting a little bit overwhelming. I just have a lot of things sort of hanging around here now that I would like to go ahead and hopefully get behind me. Okay. Did I drop some bulgur wheat on the ground? I'm a little messy today as well. That's okay. Happens to the best of us, I suppose. Okay. Everybody, this is the real heart and soul of the salad today. This is the start of the show, which it normally never really gets to be in a lot of Western cuisine, okay? Should I count this one? I don't know, Jack. I don't know when I drop. They don't have to count it. You can do what you want. Right? Guys, parsley, fresh herbs in a Western cuisine, they're very typically just garnishes, or they're very typically just added in at the end of something. The beauty of this dish today is in the sheer amount of parsley that is used. This is functionally a parsley salad first and foremost. The bulgur wheat is purely an additional component. The tomatoes and the onions, all of those are just different components to help highlight the beauty of the parsley. And that is why we have this massive, this absolutely proper mound of parsley at the moment. Okay? And so this is going to have to be done in several batches, I think, just because of how much we have to deal with. Okay? The goal, everybody, is to get this really, really finely sliced. So, everybody, resist the urge to do a rock chop. Resist the urge to chop it and destroy it and crush it. We need a nice sharp knife, and we are going to slice all of this beautiful parsley. We don't chop it, we don't crush it, we don't destroy it. We're nice and delicate and gentle. And that way, my friends, we are going to retain all of the color and all of the aroma of the parsley, and it's not going to turn brown and it's not going to oxidize. And when I say slice, I mean use the full length of the knife. So we're going to set all of my herbs down. We're going to take it and thin slices all the way through. The difference between parsley and cilantro, good question, Justin. So, they're two completely different plants, okay? So parsley, I believe the base of parsley, if I'm not mistaken, is a parsnip. And then with cilantro, there's also like a cilantro rhizome, I believe it's called. They're two very different plants, and they smell and they taste very, very different. It's kind of difficult to describe how they smell and they taste different because they just have completely different aromas associated with them. So cilantro would be traditionally used in Mexican cooking. Cilantro would also be used in a lot of Chinese cuisine. Both of them are kind of used everywhere, whereas parsley, very European, very Middle East, very Eastern European. Okay, but cilantro I feel like is a little bit more globally used. So they do taste and they smell very, very different and very distinct from one another. Okay, I mean, yeah, and some people have like the cilantro soap gene, so it tastes like soap to some of them. Also, Punish Mage, welcome on in. So guys, we sliced it once, but that's not enough. The goal is to get this parsley functionally minced. Okay, so we have to keep going through gently slicing. This is what makes it a tabbouleh. We're not talking big massive leaves, everybody. This is a parsley salad above all else. Okay, and we don't crush it, we don't destroy it. We just gently slice it. We slide a lovely sharp knife all the way through it, and we slice it up until we get really, really, truly, properly minced parsley. But we don't rock chop it. Okay, we don't do anything so aggressive. We don't want to oxidize it. Also, everybody, while I'm doing this, really quick reminder, if you haven't already done so, please try and check out the Patreon. My goal is to be able to do these cooking streams full-time one day. The Patreon doesn't particularly give you any benefits other than, the joy of supporting the channel. There's also a private Discord, but at the end of the day, my goal is to be able to do this full-time. I want to continue to keep my information free for everybody to watch, and so any and all support on the Patreon will go a really, really long way. So we're going to give this one more really, really thin pass all the way through. It's okay if we still have like some chunks, but mostly, again, I want to say I'm looking for this to be really minced. This is going to be the most minced that you'll ever see me handle parsley. Okay, in this specific dish, it is just that important. So we're going to go ahead and take a lovely bench scraper, scoop all of it up off of my cutting board, scoop it up off of my cutting board and into the bowl. And we got a whole lot more parsley to do, my friends. We have, quite frankly, a bunch. So let's take it, let's wrap it up in our hands, really, really nice and tight, but not so firmly that we crush it, of course, just enough that it stays in a little bundle. Okay, we take it and we bundle it up in our hands, and everybody, now that we've bundled it up, we can properly slice it and slice it and slice it, and I mean paper thin shreds, my friends. Full length of the knife, the longer the better, because then you have more surface area with which to slice. Okay, and we're going through and we're processing all of this parsley. Look at it. That's right, Chopin. And also, scraping with a knife, if you're using the sharp side, you're dulling the knife as you scrape with it to pick things up. So it's bad for the cutting board, and it's bad for the knife, and it's slightly dangerous for you as well. Everybody, buy a bench scraper. Can I please get a yes, chef? It is so important. Everybody, every cook on every single level will benefit from owning one. Professionals, home cooks, amateur cooks, anybody. Everybody should own one of these. They are essential tools. Okay? Guys, my lentil soup is coming together. You can see that the red lentils are falling apart and the soup is slowly beginning to thicken. And that is exactly what I wanted. This soup is all going to get blended up shortly. I'm just keeping that heat nice and low so that the lentils don't crust up on the sides or anything. Okay? And we're going to take it and we're going to go back over all of my parsley, everybody. Take it and slice it up and slice it up and slice it and slice it and slice it all the way through until we get really properly, really beautifully minced parsley, my friends. Okay? I don't want massive leaves in this type of a salad. This is a tabbouleh. Okay? This is a parsley salad, and we want to show it a lot of love, a lot of care, and a lot of respect. Okay? So all of that in. Gorgeous. And let's do this pile a little bit more because I'm still seeing some big leaves in there. Okay, very, very aggressive, but still being as gentle with it as possible. Let's go ahead and scoop it up and get that into the bowl. And we're gonna save a little bit of parsley at the end, purely to be able to garnish the soup with, just because it's a nice to have, right? But still, the majority of it ultimately will be used towards this. Can we give you ideas for the next stream on Discord? If you have ideas, the Discord is always a really nice place to put it. Sometimes I take the ideas, oftentimes I do not, Jack. So, you know, I'm just saying is there is a chance that I'm going to reject it, because oftentimes it's reflective of what I have at home and what I need to use up first. So, let's go ahead and take the parsley one more time, everybody, and we slice it and slice it and slice it. I know how repetitive this process is. I know how long we've been doing this for. Chef, will the chopping board cross-contaminate the flavors? It depends. Most things, most vegetables, I'm going to say no, right? But if you're cutting fruit on it, right, there's like that stereotype of, or like that thing that people say where you can taste all the onions that have been cut on that cutting board before. Leaving your wood wet and soaking really does cause it to absorb in sometimes unpleasant smells that you might not necessarily want. Do you have a place where we can see what you currently have in stock? Azuras, you're asking me for a live updated fridge, which I think I would love to do one day. I think it would be so fun one day in the future for me just to have like a constant live updated one. Do I use a different cutting board for meat? I do, purely because then I don't have to wash the same one. But I will say there is a lot of fear-mongering with using wood for meat, and the reality is it's just not very true. Right? It's been something that's been talked about many times. People say, oh, the wood absorbs all the bacteria. Unfortunately, it doesn't really look that way. Right? Nothing a little bit of soap and water cannot fix. Now, leaving it to sit and soak in meaty liquid is another thing. But yeah, guys, a live updated fridge, that would be fun. I'm not ready to integrate that for a while though, but it'd be cool if I had like some sort of a tool that showed that. A live 24-hour camera in my fridge, that would be creepy. That would be a little too creepy for me. Okay, so this parsley I'm saving purely to garnish my soup with. And this guy right here, I'm just going to go through him again and again, guys, until we get the final texture that we are looking for. Okay, I know this is taking up so much time, but this is where you want to put in a lot of care. Okay, no big chunks inside of my tabbouleh. Okay, so all of that parsley, nice and sliced. Let's go ahead and get it into my bowl. Let's scrape up anything that could be stuck to the cutting board. So guys, time to take a look. My parsley, my wheat, as well as my tomatoes. Okay, and now we're going to go ahead and take some mint. That was my other inspiration for today. The fact that I have all of this mint that I wanted to use up, that's exactly what we're going to do now, my friends. And the mint is going to be a little bit easier to process, I think, than the parsley at hand. So roughly, you know, maybe like a third of the amount of parsley I'm gonna have in mint. Okay, the mint can easily become overpowering. It can easily become the strongest component of the salad, which again, not really what I'm looking for. My lentil soup, everybody, is gently simmering. My potatoes have softened, my veggies have softened, and soon enough, we will blend it. But right now, we just gotta be patient. Wait a second. Holy crap. Guys. Oh my God. I left the stove on when I put the plate. I heard the meat sizzling on the plate that was on the stove. There was a fire under the ceramic plate. That is a miracle that it didn't somehow shatter. How long did I have fire? It was long enough for it to heat up, for the meat to start sizzling. I have never, it's been a long day. Whoa. I have never done such a thing before. I can't touch it. Like any additional pressure it could potentially cause it to rupture. Not like explode. I don't think it'll ever explode. It's not like glass. It'll crack though. I am in genuine disbelief of myself at the moment. I have never had something. Wow. That is a level of carelessness that I did not think could happen. Well, everything is okay. Nothing ruptured, nothing cracked, nothing exploded. My meat isn't ruined either. We're gonna go ahead and come back. Oof, thank you, Punish Mage, for the reminder to hydrate. Yeah, that's not good. But okay, it's fine. It happens to the best of us sometimes, yeah? That's right, exactly. I'm gonna go through all of the mint now. We're gonna go ahead and pluck out the leaves, and we're gonna treat the mint in the exact same way as we did the rest of the parsley. Okay, which is pluck it off, and then we'll be really, really finely and beautifully processing it. Okay, I'm sorry about that, guys. I wanna seem like a nice authoritative figure. Well, anybody can make bad mistakes. That one was just an exceptionally bad one. I don't think I've ever made a mistake quite on that level before. So, reaching new lows today. So, a little bit of mint. Gonna get it all processed. Gonna get it all off of the stems. I don't know how long it must have been there for that to actually take place, though. Do we need an oven cam to help help you monitor things? Well, we do have a stove camera. At least it wasn't a towel. Oh, yeah. Yeah. A towel catching on fire. I've had a towel smoke up once before. Everybody is allowed to burn one towel in the kitchen, or two or three. Right? That is a normal occurrence. And yeah, what I really want to do in the future, though, I'd love to get more stovetop angles, though. That's what I'm going to really, really work on at some point. But yeah, that'll all be in the new place. I have an apartment tour tomorrow. I'm looking for places with a nice kitchen. And then the streams are going to change a little bit. Guys, this setup, whoa. We only have a month more of this current setup, and things are going to change. And then things are going to change for the better, because I'm going to work on improving it. Okay, we have all of this mint. Everybody, we're going to need to treat the mint in the same exact way as we did the parsley, which is to say, really, really, really finely slice it all up. Okay? We take the mint, we hold the mint, we bundle it up in our hands, and again, I'm roughly using a third of the mint as much as the amount of parsley. This is a parsley salad at the end of the day, and the mint is more so, he just happens to be here. He's chill, he's cool, but he's not like, this isn't his birthday. The birthday today, the birthday boy is Mr. Parsley, okay? So everybody, really, really thin slices all the way through of all of my lovely mint. It's nice and aromatic. Nice and delicious, nice and herbaceous. I love mint. I would love to be able to cook with it more too. Right? I want to get better at cooking with mint. And so, this tabbouleh is going to be a really nice way for me to do so. Okay. Oh yeah. It's so much nicer to slice things like basil and mint just because of how big the leaves are. Whereas with parsley and cilantro, it can be quite annoying. The leaves aren't as firm. They don't hold up as well. And so things get kind of mushy pretty fast. So yeah, we won't see this kitchen anymore in a month unless something doesn't go according to plan. That's right, Jack. This is going to be, yeah, we'll see what happens. So, big changes. New channel, new kitchen. A lot of things are going to change in the Daily Cooking Show. Okay? So I'm going through the cilantro, everybody. I'm slicing it, I'm slicing it, I'm slicing it, I'm slicing it. I'm getting all of it done. or the mint, excuse me, not the cilantro. We're going to take it back, and we're pursuing, once again, everybody, a very, very fine mince. And in order to get the fine mince of our dreams, we have to keep passing the knife through it. We have to keep on processing. Does anybody have any questions? We're reaching the final stage. The last thing is going to be combining all of the ingredients for the tabbouleh. It's my first time making tabbouleh. I also haven't eaten in a while, so I hope I'm doing it justice. I hope there's somebody here who's more tabbouleh educated than I am that can tell me that I'm doing well. But I think it's coming out according to plan. Right? And we're going to go ahead and take it and just keep on mincing it, my friends. Any big pieces, they all have to go. Everything has to be really, really finely processed. Normally, I never do things this fine for my chopped salads, but today it is important. So bundle it up, mince it up, mince it up, mince it up, mint it up. In fact, we'll do a pilgrimage to your apartment once you move out, like good little subscribers. Sunny Peach Crush, that is the most horrifying suggestion. Oh God, if I had not just like getting doxxed, but like an army of people, oh boy, that's like super doxing. That's yeah. That is a really funny suggestion that you just had. Okay. And we're going through all of this a couple more times. We'll all wear little chef hats with rats. That's right, guys. Please show up to my apartment with rats. I want all of my fans to show up where I live with rats. I hope that doesn't get taken out of context. Uh-oh. That is actually a dangerous thing for me to even joke about online. I really hope that doesn't happen. That would be like comically. No, Jack, I'm telling you right now, that is not a clip. I would actually advise anybody not to clip that. That is a genuine liability, right? Is it doxing if you already moved out? Semantics. Okay, almost done, everybody, with all of this lovely mint. Again, we're gonna go ahead and do it all. Some of the worst things imaginable have done with some of the best intentions. Alan Grant. That's right. As good as your intentions may be, guys, please don't. Please don't. It needs to be said. Somebody will interpret this literally. I know it will. Okay? There you go. All of this lovely mint into my bowl now. Go ahead and take a look, guys. This has the mint. This has the parsley inside of it. And now we have to go in with a few of our other components. We're going to go in. Okay, well, first I'm going to give my lentil soup a nice little stir, just to make sure nothing is sticking, just to make sure nothing is burning, nothing is scorching, right? We're just going through the sides one more time. Ooh, that lentil soup is begging to be blended at the moment, but not yet, my friends. Just a little bit more, and then we'll get to him. So, all of my onions that have been soaking in the lemon juice, all of that goes in. Is there black pepper in tabbouleh? I'm not entirely sure, actually. I don't think I'd be able to tell you off the top of my head. Okay? All of my onions go in. All of my garlic goes in, everybody. Right? I just had a little bit of crushed garlic that I'm going to try to somehow get out of this little teeny tiny condiment cup. There you go. Okay? And then last but not least, everybody, it's going to need a very, very healthy, generous, big hit of salt all the way through it, just to make sure that it's all nice and seasoned. And then, once again, it wouldn't be Middle Eastern food without, quite frankly, too much olive oil. Okay, so we add in, I don't know, 5-6 tablespoons worth of olive oil, all of it inside. That's right, Sunny Peach Crush. That is my rant that I usually go on. And now, we go ahead and we mix everything through. My onions, my bulgur wheat, my garlic, my parsley, my mint, my olive oil, my lemon juice, and my salt. And this, I think that's a good looking tabbouleh. I think that's actually a very good looking tabbouleh. Everybody, what do you think? Any tabbouleh appreciators? I think that looks quite good at the moment. Maybe a little too much bulgur wheat, actually, for my taste. Because again, I really wanted the parsley to be like the biggest component here. And so all I'm doing now is just I'm really, really spreading it out. I'm really making sure that the salt gets everywhere that it needs to go. Okay. And let's go ahead and have a nice little Daramgarian taste. Let's see how it came out, everybody. I'm looking for it to be herbaceous. I'm looking for it to be acidic. I'm looking for it to be nice and fatty. Let's give it a little taste. So good. Really yummy. Acidic. It has everything that it needs. Maybe a little too much salt for me before, but that's okay. Perfectly moist. Not sopping wet though. Guys, I gotta say, I'm really proud of how my tabbouleh came out. There it is. Oh, that's good. That is fresh. That is bright. That is everything that we wanted it to be and more. And so I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this for now because we will not need it until it is time for us to serve. Everybody, we have to go ahead and blend my lentil soup now. Okay? So, my blender sitting here all ready to go for us today. Or rather, my pot of lentil soup. We're going to go ahead and blend it up. We're going to make it nice and viscous, nice and smooth and creamy. And this is where you guys are really going to see how well it turns out. I have here a little immersion blender. And I think this is a really, really important tool to have. It's amazing for cream sauces. It's amazing for soups. Okay? Because you don't have to wait to cool it down. You can just all blend inside of the pot. So, once again, what do we have in here? Carrots, onions, garlic, chilies, some Aleppo pepper, some homemade beef stock, some tomatoes, and a bunch of golden lentils. Or red lentils, not golden ones. And we're gonna go ahead and take our stick blender, guys. And it's just time. We're gonna start with a low heat, low speed. Okay? We never start off with a high speed because it'll immediately splash up. So low speed to first take care of any big chunks. Nice little low speed, my friends. Any big chunks. All of it needs to get nice and processed. Okay, and now it's time for some high-speed blending action. Let's go ahead and get this soup blended. Let's go ahead and get it creamy, my friends. And the longer that you stick it in there, hopefully it will start like a little cycle. So you can see that the liquid is beginning to vortex. If it's light enough and you have enough volume, it will successfully vortex, which is what we're looking for, because then it feeds in all of the chunks inside of the blender without needing to move it that much. In my case, I don't think we're going to get that level of vortex that I'm really looking for, but that's okay, because all that we got to do then is just move it around every so often. And I want no chunks whatsoever inside of my lentil soup. I want no chunks. I just want to keep it blending. I want to keep it blending. I want to keep it blending until it is completely smooth. And guys, this has no heavy cream. Look at the viscosity of the soup. Look how creamy it is. Look how smooth it is. That is the beauty of these kinds of lentil soups, my friends. Also, there is one thing that I did forget to add, and that is going to be a little bit of dried mint. Some dried mint in there. Trust me, it goes a super long way. If I could actually find where I put it though. Aha! A little bit of mint. And I do mean a little bit. Too much of it, and I find that it tastes unpleasant, and the mint becomes very overpowering. So I mean like a little teeny tiny pinch, like that, and that will be perfect for my uses today. Okay? So let's go back in. Let's go back in with my blender. And let's blend it all down, my friends. Let's blend it all down until it is to your liking. If you want, you can have it be chunky, but in my case, I just want it smooth. I want it totally smooth. That is the way that I want my lentil soup today. So every last chunk, my friends, is gotta go. And every now and then I'm gonna take back my wooden spoon and just agitate it a little bit. I'm going to especially focus on the corners to really, really make sure that nothing is stuck on the corners, nothing is stuck on the sides, because your immersion blender can sometimes miss things like that. So I'm taking everything and I'm unsticking all of it properly. Guys, look at this lentil soup. Doesn't that look beautiful? Just keep it blending. Keep it going, keep it going, keep it going. Now, I don't really know what I'm going to need to do about that beef. Truthfully, I don't think that plate is supposed to be brought up to that temperature. I'm worried there might be some implications on what that did to the beef. We'll find out. Yeah, those plates, they're not fire safe. You're not really supposed to put them onto the stove at all. So keep it going, guys. Keep it going until the consistency is to your liking. And for me, it can never be smooth enough. So I'm going to keep it going. I'm going to keep it going a little bit longer, maybe about 20 more seconds of blending, and then we will call it a day. This step is completely up to you. And guys, that potato really, really holds it all together. The potato is what keeps it this viscous without it separating. That's the real magical ingredient in this. Okay? So, that's mostly done. I am going to go ahead and give this little guy a nice little taste. And what I'm looking for the spice. I'm looking for the herbaceousness of the mint. Okay? I'm going to go in here. I'm going to taste this with a spoon really quickly. Ooh. Oh my God. That is so good. Oh my goodness. Wow. Ooh. Oh, that's so good. With the beef stock, with the extra chili in there for some spice, we gotta add in a little bit more salt, but otherwise it's perfect. It's meaty, it's tomatoey. That is lovely. That is so, so, so yummy, my friends. And let's just take it and blend it up one more time. All the way through. Get all of that salt nice and evenly mixed in, right? That's why we blend it with the salt, just to really, really ensure that there's no uneven pockets. And there you go, my friends. That is my golden, my beautiful red lentil soup with so much effort. Now, I would add the shredded beef in, but I actually don't feel comfortable in doing so because I don't really know what happened when we really heated up that plate. So I'll have to make some decisions later on and maybe do a little bit of Googling. So we'll see. What do you say to a slow chef? What's this going to be, Jack? Is this going to be a pun? Let's hear it. What do you have in mind for us? Okay. All right. Chop, chop. Thank you, Jack, for another pun. Everybody, it's time for us to plate. It's time for us to plate, and then we'll be finishing off, and then we'll be signing off for today. So I'm going to just take a little second just to get a couple of things off of my station, get a couple of things off of my cutting board. Everybody, I'm sorry about today being a little bit chaotic. Truthfully, I was a little tired going into today. I wanted to push through, and we still did. So I'm sorry about the great plate incident and being a little bit more all over the place than usual. What's your take on Red Lobster closing? I don't really have an opinion. I've never been to Red Lobster in my entire life. Is it bad news for restaurant owners? Sunny Peach Crush, I'm not gonna lie, I don't think I have much of an input here really, because I'm gonna say something very harsh right now. I don't care too much about chain restaurant owners. People that go into chain restaurants, okay? They go into the chain restaurant business of opening up their own franchise. Right? They're in it purely for money and because they think that this is a way of doing so, right? They consider it an investment. I don't really have much to say in that regard. Like, I know why they went into this business, and now all of a sudden that business has failed them. Right? They didn't really go into it from any place of culinary integrity whatsoever. It was because somebody was like, I want my own Red Lobster. I'm going to open up my own franchise. I don't know how Red Lobster handles its franchises, but I would assume it's a little something like that. So, I feel like that's ultimately my answer for you. Is it possible to see the beef, chef? So soft amoy? I mean, you can. It's on this plate. I don't feel comfortable moving or touching this plate if it cracks right now. So it's right there. The beef shank came out good. It's just, I accidentally heated up that plate. Also, Softamoy, welcome on in. It's okay that you have to join the stream late. Everybody, let's just plate up and let's close out for today. Okay? So I'm gonna go ahead and get a nice little bowl, or in my case, a big bowl, because I want a nice generous portion of lentil soup. And I want you all to appreciate the viscosity. I want you all to appreciate how smooth it is. And you would be surprised that there is no cream in this whatsoever. One last joke, chef, only if it's a good one, Jack. Look how creamy it is. Look how smooth it is. And this was accomplished without the use of any heavy cream whatsoever. Lentils and potatoes, they go such a long way. Look at the viscosity. I'm sorry, I'm getting my gratuitous thumbnail shot while I'm doing this over and over in place. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and grab a nice big bowl of lentil soup because truthfully, I believe I've earned it. So let's do 2 big old ladles for myself. And I love lentil soup, guys. It is incredibly nutritious. It is so good for you. It is so delicious. The texture, it's all pretty amazing as far as it goes. Okay? Look at this lentil soup. Take a look at this thing. It is so gorgeous. It is so saturated in its color. It is so vibrant, but we are not done with Mr. Lentil Soup quite yet because we're still going to garnish him with a little bit of parsley, right? But now the component that I think is the most essential, above all else, you have to have a little wedge of lemon alongside this. A little bit of lemon on a lentil soup, guys, or in my case, actually a lot of lemon. So important to have. And then let's go ahead and also plate up my tabbouleh. So get a little bowl, get my tabbouleh out, perfectly hydrated, but not soaking wet or anything. And there she is. Okay, and I'll grab a couple of spoons for myself to go ahead and eat. And then everybody, one last recap session, and then we are going to be done for today. This is my red lentil beef soup without the beef, but still with the beef stock, and some tabbouleh. So the tabbouleh, we first salted some tomatoes to get rid of the excess water. We soaked some bulgur wheat. We chopped up some onion and we soaked it with lemon juice so that we can kill the pungency. We added garlic, a bunch, and I do mean a metric ton of parsley, some fresh mint in there as well, and of course a plethora of olive oil because you can't have Middle Eastern food without it. Tabbouleh is essentially a parsley salad. It is refreshing, it is light, it is acidic, it is salty, and it's pretty delicious. That's good. That's some good stuff. It is so light. It is so refreshing. You can eat so much of it. But it's so intense. It has so much flavor. It has so many herbs inside of it. And then my red lentil soup. We made this incredible homemade beef stock. We sauteed in the beef fat and in the olive oil, carrots and onions. We added potatoes and tomatoes and chilies and Aleppo pepper and some garlic. Added in the beef stock, added in the lentils. Let it all cook. Finish it with a little bit of mint. Let's have a little taste. A little bit spicy from the chilies. Really sweet from the onions and the carrot. Nice and thick from the potato, and the lentils are the bulk of it all. Everybody needs to be cooking with lentils. They're cheap. They're incredibly nutritious, and they're delicious. They're the ideal ingredient, right? Look at that. And I want to go ahead and enjoy the rest of it off stream. Everybody, thank you all for being here today. As always, every Wednesday, every Friday, every single Sunday. Next stream is going to be in 3 days' time. 2 days' time? 3 days' time. This Wednesday, 5 p.m. EDT as always. Follow my Patreon. Please try to financially support me there if you're able to do so. Exclamation mark Patreon. We scroll down and go into the About section. Everybody, I hope you all have a good night. Thank you for being here. I want to hear one last resounding bye, chef. I will see you all this Wednesday, once again, 5 p.m. EDT. I don't know what we're making yet. Join the Discord, exclamation mark Discord if you would like. And that's about all I've got left in me. Have a good Sunday night. Have a good weekend, right? Chill out. You have a day off if you're in the United States. And I will see you